Inside the Gamecocks, the morning show. Presented by the Barndominium Company and Resto Pros of the Midlands. Part of the Chief Sports Network. Go Gamecocks!
He'll be fire on the mountain.
Consecutive home runs for Carolina.
It is good. It's gone.
He's in. Touchdown.
Williams with a throw to the plate. He's going to score. It's a walk-off. Touchdown, South Carolina.
All right, greetings and good morning. Welcome aboard and welcome home inside the Gamecocks, the morning show built by the Barndo Co. and presented by our friends at Resto Pros.
They are always there when you need them. Resto Pros of the Midlands, Resto Pros Midlands SC.com. You can build your dream home in the Carolinas by heading to the barndoco.com. The barndoco.com is one of the nation's best builders. The barndoco.com can help you do that right here in South Carolina and up there in North Carolina, even in the fake peach state of Georgia and in Tennessee. Head to the Barndominium Company's website, thebarndoco.com. You had the Golden Tones Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. If you're watching baseball on the SEC Network Plus, he popped in with us on Friday morning, and we got him again, and we're always happy to have the great Mike Morgan. John Whittle coming up in just a little bit. Mike, it's draft week. I know you're fired up.
I do. I am. I love draft week.
I know.
I can't get enough of it. It's exciting time. I was reading Connor O'Gara, another guy we've had on JCM, who I think does a good job at Saturday Down South, and he wrote an interesting piece. Did you catch it by any chance?
I saw something about this and never got to it. I did not.
Okay. So what it was like kind of counter to what you're going to have on draft day, because draft day, and we'll do more of this tomorrow on the Love Chevy drive around the SEC. It's going to be another SEC love fest. So all you SEC haters, you're going to hate finding out that the SEC is once again going to have the most first-round picks, the most second-round picks, the most overall picks, picks, SEC. So he said, yeah, SEC. He's going to do every SEC team what they've been lacking in the draft. For example, Auburn hasn't had a wide receiver selected in the first round since 1972.
What?
Can you believe that? Yeah.
No.
1972. Wow. And I had to think about that. I'm like, come to think of it, they really haven't had many good. Even like when Cam was there and they won the national title, those weren't great wide receivers. No. They haven't gotten great wideouts. I mean, their neighbors 2 hours away have gotten a bunch of first round wideouts, but they haven't had any since 1972. I think Florida over the last 3 years has only had 10 players selected in the first 3 rounds. That's a pretty low number for that program. Kentucky. Lane Kiffin hasn't had really a quarterback that he's coached do a damn thing since Matt Barkley at Southern Cal. Like there's a factoid in every one of them. So I know what people are saying. Well, okay, what's the one on the Gamecocks? It's really about the offensive line.
Oh,
no,
okay.
well, you could easily. Yeah, no, I mean that's a great point. You could easily have done it on quarterbacks, right? In fact, that would have been kind of the low hanging fruit. Mm-hmm. But what he put on there, one offensive lineman drafted before round 4 during the playoff era, and that was A.J. Cann, a third rounder back in 2015. He says the last time the Gamecocks had an offensive lineman selected in the first 2 rounds. Anybody? Closest?
When did Travell go?
Travell was a little later. For whatever reason, I don't understand why. Travell was actually undervalued and had a great NFL career.
Yes, he was.
This name is you're gonna be like, what? I'll give you the year, 1993. So Jamie, you were still probably cruising the streets of 5 Points and picking up the ladies.
Yeah, it was a little before my 5 points time, but
well, you were way ahead of your time back in freshman year in high school, whatever that was.
More of the streets of Cooper Estates in Mount Pleasant.
There you go.
I'm trying to think.
You're probably going to draw a blank on. I would have drawn a blank on this one too. I mean, I remember the name, but 1993, Ernest Dye.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Ernest Dye.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, you said that's in the first 2 rounds?
In the first 2, they haven't had an offensive lineman in the first 2 rounds since Ernest Dye in 1993.
It's
AJ
pretty sad.
Yeah, AJ Cann
mean-
was a third rounder in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, they've had some good linemen, but yeah, I guess now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, could that change next year? Things seem to be trending maybe potentially that way if Josiah Thompson continues to do what he's capable of doing. But that's pretty startling, and they're not going to have one this year. So.
Yeah, it's obviously a trend you want to change. He adds, perhaps that's also why the Gamecocks haven't had a running back selected in the first 3 rounds since 1997. The blank is loose. Deuce Staley.
Yeah, right. I mean, I
obviously
hear,
Lattimore. If Lattimore was healthy, we know he would have gone high. He would have been in that group.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I hear you on that. And had Summers and Watson finish their careers, there's a good chance one of them would have gone that high too.
Well, Watson did get drafted. He wound up as a Tampa Bay Buck.
Yeah, but he wasn't not in the first 3 rounds though.
No.
I mean,
I'm saying, his career was complete. He wasn't knocked down because of. He just wasn't a prototypical NFL running. Summers, I don't know. We'll never know with Summers. I think looking back, obviously the off the field stuff, and he might have been a little overrated. He might not have been exactly what people thought he was coming out of high school. Obviously, Marcus Lattimore was, and then some. So Marcus would have been, and of course, the other thing that's bucking this trend is that with every now and then an Ashton Genty comes along, and you take him, he'll be a top 10 pick,
right?
But most teams, if you're a really good running back, they're like, yeah, we'll get you in the 4th round. We're good here. There's plenty. You're a dime a dozen. Running backs are just devalued. Wide receivers are much more valuable.
Totally.
And so
it's a good wideout class, sneaky wideout class.
It's a good wideout. It's an exceptional defensive tackle class, which I know that doesn't get everybody's juices flowing, but exceptional defensive tackle and defensive line class. So you're going to have a lot of D line. Quarterback, it's a little bleak.
I think very bleak.
Cam Ward will go number 1 to the Titans, and then somebody will. Yeah.
Let me pause you real quick. Are you buying this? Jonathan Jones, who writes for CBS, mock draft out today. He's got Shedeur Sanders falling out of the first round. Are you buying that?
No.
Okay.
Now
I'm not either, but it's interesting.
It is interesting, and where he's getting that from is most teams do not have him as a first round grade. If this was last year's draft, he wouldn't have even sniffed it. Right. But this year, I do believe, again, there's more than one team that needs a quarterback, so somebody will reach to get him. And somebody will reach to get Jackson Dart, I believe, in the first round as well.
I would agree with that. He's got Just Ward going as the only quarterback taken in the first round. Again, not buying it, not saying anything other than I'm not buying it. What is his intel on all this? I have no idea. For what it's worth, he's got I haven't seen this one for Eman Worry. He's got a trade at 24 with the Bears trading with Minnesota, and he's got the Bears taking Eman Worry at 24 in the first round. So we'll see.
Yeah, if he's available, I could see that. I'll give you one more of these. One more of these that you might find. How about the defensive-minded Brent Venables has yet to have a player drafted at Oklahoma? I know it's only 2 years, but he hadn't had one. Texas, 0 quarterbacks selected in the first 2 rounds since Vince Young in 2006. Now, that's obviously going to change with Arch, but they haven't had a quarterback in the first 2 rounds. And Texas A&M hasn't had a first-round pick since Myles Garrett. To give you a little bit of perspective, Tulsa, Duke, Kentucky, Boston College, Maryland, and Northwestern have all had a first-round pick since the last time Texas A&M had one.
That's crazy. Like that
Anyway.
doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. No, a lot of that stuff doesn't. But as we talked about, I mean, I think for Gamecock fans, I realize a lot of people are like, draft. I don't care about the draft. But it's awfully cool when your school has a lot of players named, and you are going to have a lot of players, particularly off that defense name. So that'll make for good TV. Eamon Warrior will go on Thursday, a couple more on Friday, and several more on Saturday, day 3.
Well, we're going to talk more about that today, and this is truth-telling week for how deep the Gamecocks 2025 NFL draft class will be. We continue to think there will be a bunch of names called. I think a lot of people do, and so excited about that. Obviously, Mike, the Gamecocks get a series win. We'll hold off on that till John gets here in just a little bit, so we can collectively have this conversation. As all three of us were there this weekend. And we'll hit on some spring game stuff. I'll lead off with some of this. I know a lot of people weren't able to go and obviously couldn't watch it. Here's my takeaway on the spring game. If anybody gives you an in-depth analysis of the of a position group or what they saw the other day, and now here's what we think, it's all hogwash. Okay, I'm just going to be point blank. That's no disrespect. Everybody's got a job to do in the media and things like that. You use your eyeballs, you try to figure out things, you try to provide quality information. It is all from an honest place. None of everything that is ever said about anything that happens in a spring game should be totally taken with the lightest grain of salt you could possibly find. It's South Carolina. Mike, I'll give you this. Here's something to chew on. Love to get your opinion on this. We've had these conversations over and over about spring games for weeks on end now, their importance, people doing away with them in general. It was crystal clear to me on Friday at the ballpark. The spring game has nothing to do with the game at South Carolina. It has everything to do with recruiting. That is Shane Beamer's pitch on this thing. We're going to bring in a bunch of talent. We're going to provide a little bit of an atmosphere. We're going to get them around our players. We're going to let our guys go out and have fun as kind of a cherry on top to finish the spring season. And we are going to provide the best experience we possibly can to build the future of this program. There was nothing else I took away. The only thing that even happened in the game, there was one thing that's been undersold by everybody that's spoken about this since then, and it was the kicking competition. That was it. The rest of it didn't matter. And I'm telling you why right now. This is very simple. There were 3 kickers. Shane Beamer got on a microphone, told 35,000 people to stand up and cheer as loud as they could. He surrounded them with the football team, and he made them go out and kick a 40-yard field goal. That's the most pressure they've had in the spring, considering none of them have ever kicked under pressure at South Carolina. That was the one thing that I was like, this is a brilliant move by this coaching staff. And you want my honest opinion on this, your punter is also your kicker. I think Mason Love is the best leg on the team all the way around. I wouldn't be shocked if he does both. But outside of that, there wasn't much to draw from anything. I just see this moving forward. I think he will want to keep this spring game because he wants to keep it as an opportunity to bring a bunch of recruits in.
Right. I appreciate your candor on that, because I think, number one, you went out of your way to cover it. You'd love to have these overarching strong takes on what you saw, but honestly, you get very little. And little. I actually thought about going, since I was already in town, calling the baseball series, and I was like, no, I just can't. I can't do it. I know I'm not going to draw anything from it, and that's fine. We're not being critical of the format. Again, I just think these things now, like you said, it's a recruiting tool in some cases. It's a chance for fans to go out, have a good time. Sometimes Gamecock fans, just like other fan bases, just want to congregate and go to a place that makes you feel happy, and
that's right.
That happens to be Williams-Brice Stadium.
That's exactly right, Mike.
Then you go out to 5 Points, and you're like, what happened to the 27 bars that I grew up with that are all shut down? As a certain attorney is trying to turn that into a corporate village, as opposed to a nice, fun place where college kids and young adults can go and enjoy a beer. I experienced that firsthand. Holy smokes, what the hell is going on? You can't just destroy 5 Points.
I know.
It's sad, man.
Yeah.
Quick thing for chat row today on a sidebar, if I might. Your favorite 5 Points bar that is no longer in existence or it changed names?
Yeah,
Because I
very easy
was
for me.
which one?
Rocco's was our home.
Okay, right. So
Ugh.
K-Mac,
I mean, yeah.
Kevin. So
Mhm.
his sister's ex-husband owned it. So we used to go there all the time. Then he sold it, and yeah.
Belush?
I don't want to
we
say.
called him
I don't
Belush.
want to.
We called him
Yeah, I don't
Belush.
want to.
They were
Old guy?
great. Yeah,
Well,
a little bit older. Yeah.
Okay,
There's three of them. There's three of them.
Yeah. I only know the one. Anyway, so they closed a while ago, and then, I mean, yesterday's is closed, and group therapy, I believe, is closed, and Jake's is still going, barely, because they own the building.
Mhm.
But I mean, I was like, what the heck? Who is this? It's what happened to 5 Points? Now the Vista's never been better.
Yeah.
And Main Street has never been better. You used to not go to Main Street.
No,
You
it's
didn't want part of that.
fantastic.
Now
It's
it's
awesome.
fantastic. A little pricey on some of the restaurants.
Yeah.
But nice.
It's beautiful.
But man, 5 Points. That's part of you got to hold on. That's part of a college town charm that is now being gobbled up. And I was kind of sad to see that. But anyway, I digress. Football, yes. We'll learn a lot more about this team in August.
Yeah.
When they're actually scrimmaging and there's a little more on the line, and it's less about a show and more about getting down to brass tacks and getting ready to battle a quality Virginia Tech team that, if you're not careful, can ruin your season in week 1.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, I do have a couple other things, and I will get to those in later on in this program, as far as some specific stuff that I was looking for in players and stuff like that. Not necessarily in how they performed, but what did they look like, just to kind of match the notes or the intel with the eyeball, and so we'll get to some of that too. But all right, we got to hit a
Got rid of the
timeout.
speakeasy too, Jamie. I'm just gonna throw that out. They got rid of speakeasy. I mean that. I spent a lot of my time in these places back in the day, and so many of them are just gone.
Yeah, and to be now, look, obviously you already hit the nail on the head with what started this whole thing, but also the liquor liability laws in South Carolina have been crushing everybody.
Correct.
And so they're
If you don't have
trying
a
to
liquor
rectify
license,
some of that. Yeah,
you got no business. You got no bar.
That's right.
And that's the most important piece of paper if you're going to do this. And apparently, there's some people trying to make sure that's very difficult to either get or retain.
Yeah,
Who knew?
Hopefully they're going to lose that.
You and I need to open up a 5 Points bar. Let's do it.
I've talked to Tannehill numerous times of the stress level that he's gone through. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. It's all.
His place was I walked by his place. It was like 3 bouncers the size of first-round offensive tackles and some patrons. Yeah, it was big dudes. I don't know. Is there a lot of fights breaking out at Tannehill's place?
I mean, it's 5 points. You never know when a fight's going to break out.
Yeah, that's true.
Could happen anywhere at any time with anyone.
Was Nightworks around when you were in school? What they called it Cheeseworks later on. That the upstairs, that's gone too. Smokes. I mean, it's
Sharky's.
Harper's is gone.
Yeah, Sharky's was there, and Red Hot Tomatoes was upstairs. I think those are both gone.
Gone. Yeah.
It's changed everything.
It's amazing. Yeah. Anyway, I digress.
Take us to a timeout, please, sir. We'll get.
Let's
John
do that. I tell you, it's not gone. Troy Branham, he's still working in Columbia. He's still helping South Carolinians with all their mortgage rates. Yeah, he's over there on Millwood Avenue in Columbia. I'm sure every now and then he likes to go to 5 Points, but it's just a different vibe, obviously. And that's okay, because Troy's, you don't want to be Frank the Tank. There's a certain age where maybe the college bars are not for you. Again, I don't know what else Troy is good at. Honestly, the man eats, sleeps, drinks, mortgage rates, and helps South Carolinians get the lowest mortgage rate. So that's all you care about. Actually, he's really good at golf too. But other than those two things, I don't know what he excels at in life. I don't care. I just know that when I need a new mortgage rate and I need to get the lowest mortgage and I need to get help and assistance and guidance, Troy Branham is the man. Has been since 1999 for South Carolinians. 803-238-0111. 803-238-0111. Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage.
We'll take a timeout. Whittle next.
Oh, man, the building is on fire.
Emergencies and accidents happen. When you're in the middle of a fire or water event, all you want is for things to return to normal as soon as possible. Resto Pros of the Midlands is with you, guiding you through the process and working with you to get your home or office back in working order. They'll answer your questions, discuss procedures, and can act as your advocate when it comes to processing your insurance claim. Resto Pros Midlands SC.com. Open 24/7 when you need them. Quality that is guaranteed.
Happy New Year from the Barndominium Company, where they are building dream homes in the Carolinas, Georgia, and Tennessee. Their turnkey process can be custom designed and takes 6 months on average. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. Thebarndominiumco.com. Gamecock owned and operated.
Welcome to Dry Space Crawl Space Solutions. Basement crawl space encapsulation designed for your specific needs. Your crawl space can be susceptible to all sorts of issues, including moisture buildup, mold growth, and structural damage if not cared for properly. Let our trained experts provide basement crawl space encapsulation solutions to protect your home, improve air quality, and enhance energy efficiency. Schedule your consultation today for a safer, healthier space at dryspacecs.com. Dry Space Crawl Space Solutions, proud supporters of your South Carolina Gamecocks.
Get along down the road. We got a long, long way to go. Scared to live, scared to die. We ain't perfect, but we try. Get along while we can. Always give love the upper hand. Paint a wall, learn to dance. Call your mom, buy a boat, drink a beer, sing a song, make a friend. Can't we all get along?
All right, 10:25. Welcome back. We hope everybody had a wonderful and happy Easter. It is Monday, April 21st, and there's the great John Whittle. The birds scary inside today, John? What's going on?
No. We got the neighbor doing some, I don't know what's going on over there, but there's a big old truck that's out there making a whole bunch of racket, so we're going to have to go inside to the office today.
That's,
That's
good
very
looking out,
disappointing.
man. It's very
Can we
kind
just
of you,
pipe it
though,
in?
so we didn't have to.
Can we pipe in some bird noise?
Phil, get on that for us.
Phil, pipe in some bird noise and go ahead and FedEx a parakeet to the Whittle residence.
Somebody wake Phil up. Ask him to hit the bird button. All right, John, we'll turn to baseball first with you here. South Carolina does pick up a series win. It finished pretty rudely, thanks to the Ole Miss bats and the lack of strikes to start Game 3 the other day. But they did pitch well in Games 1 and 2. Mike had the call on the SEC Network Plus with Coach Tanner, which was brilliant. And obviously, John, you were sitting upstairs. So they are off the schneid. We can start there. They're off the schneid in the series wins department.
Yeah, that's a positive thing. Winning those two and it being good baseball. I mean, that was my biggest takeaway from the first 2 days was just good, clean baseball all the way around. You got a few big hits. I mean, was not overwhelming offensively, but good offensively, and obviously pitched great, both in starts and out of the bullpen. Played clean defense. Mike and I agreed on the one error on the weekend. I think Coach Tanner disagreed with us on that scoring ruling. So, it was either a one error weekend or a no error weekend. So you played great defense all weekend too.
Mm-hmm. I'm on Coach Tanner's side. I've made that clear.
I actually am too. Yeah, John.
Derek thought it was an error.
Yeah.
Okay. It's Derek. Okay.
It's Derek. Yeah. I actually, when they called it that, Ray and I looked at each other like, wow. We can go back. It's a 50-50 call, but it's a late hop. It clearly hits something, pebble, whatever, and then gets by him. So I would have scored it a hit. I thought it was a little rough error, but your point's still well taken. That all 3 games were clean defensively. Even the one that got away yesterday because you just didn't have the pitching.
How many double plays they turned, guys? 6 in 3 games.
It was 3 the first game, 2 the second game. I'm not sure what it was in the third game. Let's see. It
either way,
5. Yeah, one more. Aiden Palmer had the one with the bases loaded too. So that's right.
That's right. Yeah.
The one.
Yeah. No, Jamie, you've pointed this out all year long, and that the one thing this team has done well is they play pretty airtight defense overall. The exception of a couple of lapses, the Oklahoma game obviously stands out there, but they look pretty fundamentally sound in the field in spite of the fact you've got some guys that aren't plus defenders. But no, I thought it reminded me, and I said this on one of the broadcasts, those first 2 games, particularly Thursday night, had a early 2000s feel to them. Great starting pitching, flawless defense, and timely hitting. And very often back then it was the home run. This team doesn't have quite the same amount of power, but they have enough. And then once I found out, and I didn't find out till I talked to Paul Maneri at the ballpark on Saturday, that SQ wasn't going, I was like, oh boy. And that turned out to be what it turned out to be. But yeah, it was just like, and I'm sure you felt this way, John, as you're watching those first 2 games. It was like, where has this been all year? Right? Because both of you guys have said all year long, this team does have some talent and should be better than what the record is. And you saw that on Thursday and Friday.
For sure. I mean, it's a great question. It's hard to pinpoint the exact answer. It does start with throwing strikes, and that's not a trait that this team has had. And I guess when that gets going, everything else kind of fell in line a little bit. Matthew Becker had a little bit of a problem, and Tyler Pitzer had a little bit of a problem throwing strikes on Saturday in the third game of the weekend. But they just got beat around a lot too. So but those first 2 games is exactly how you draw it up. That's like what South Carolina, what Paul Maneri would have wanted this team to be, and thought it could be. So you got a great start from Brandon Stone, who was really impressive. And I was looking back, and Ole Miss has the second fewest ground balls of any team in SEC play. They were averaging 6.5 ground ball outs a game, and Brandon Stone got 15 of them, with 3 of those being double plays. So he had 18 outs on ground balls, and Ole Miss has 6.4, 6.5 a game. So I thought that was really impressive to pitch to his strengths and get the Ole Miss batters to do something they're not accustomed to doing.
I mean, Jake did the same thing in the game 2 start. I mean, how many ground ball outs did he have? It was a decent amount.
He had 7. Yeah, he had 7. Yeah. So it's a little bit more.
Yeah, and a lot of strikeouts too.
Yeah, he had 7 strikeouts. I think he did walk 3, but he only gave up 3 hits. I mean, it was, I think going into the series, one of the things that if you looked at what Ole Miss did well, Coach Lake talked about this on Friday, and which obviously they hit the ball out of the yard, and they're going to hit a lot of balls in the air, and a lot of them are going to leave the yard. So if you're able to stay down and you've got some run on it, you can probably get them to do some things that they're uncomfortable doing. And that's what happened those first 2 games, those first 18 innings. I mean, those are the best back-to-back starts all year long, regardless of competition, because they did it against a top 15, top 20 team in Ole Miss. And they were able to get the wins. And that's what's been missing with this. Look, we could talk about the inconsistencies of the offense all we want. That's fine. We knew going into the year they weren't going to be backbreakers offensively. They weren't just going to come out and take your soul from you, but they were going to have to pitch, and they just haven't. John, you said it a minute ago. They have not thrown enough strikes. That happened on Saturday. They couldn't throw strikes in the first inning, and Jarvis Evans didn't even record an out. And there they are. They're down big and pretty much with no prayer of coming back and winning the game. Those other games, they got big pitches in big spots. They made nice plays, and they were able to muster enough offense to win games. That's how this team can win games. So, moving forward, it's not rocket science. We could sit here and we could decipher and do everything we want to do, like everybody wants everybody to do every time they cut the mics on. It's pretty simple. If you pitch, you're going to have a chance to win games, right, John? I don't think there's a whole lot more to it than that.
Yeah, and in South Carolina just hadn't, and as you mentioned, ton of walks all year. They've got 94 in league play this year, which is next to last in the SEC, ahead of only Missouri, and Missouri really shouldn't count in any stats this year. They're so bad, but that's where it starts oftentimes. And I mean, you got guys walking people who have had problems walking people before, but you got guys walking people who haven't really had that problem in the past. So it's just hadn't gone right over there this year for that staff in a lot of ways, but that being certainly one of them.
I will say this. We'll turn our attention to Kentucky here in just a second, and then we've got John. We got softball, and I know you don't have all the ins and outs of the spring game and stuff like that, but I do want to mix just a little bit, if you don't mind. Just sprinkle the top with football. I think I mentioned this on Friday, Mike. I'm pretty sure you were on when I mentioned it, and Thursday night. Obviously when you get a start like that from Brandon Stone, you get some key double plays that are able to get the crowd energized and the team and stuff like that. Just watching him up close, and he had that's really the first time I've seen it all year out of one of South Carolina's starting pitchers. Like, I'm not losing tonight. I'm just kind of letting y'all know you can hop on my back and I'm going to carry you to the end of this deal. And then in the ninth inning, you had the fans stand up and cheer when they saw him walk back on the mound. Like, that to me is South Carolina baseball right there. That is game. Mike, you used to be the voice of this team. Very smart crowd, very smart baseball group of people. You're always going to have the fringe, outlandish folks that just spout off stuff. But for the most part, there's a large percentage of people who followed this program closely and know what it looks like and understands what's going on the field. And honestly, the success of this program, rebuilding it here, you gotta find as many of those moments as you can and keep stacking them on top of one another to rejuvenate that feel good, if you will, within the program, John. And obviously, I got to go to Lexington this weekend, a place where largely they've struggled over the years. It's I don't know why. But if they can go out and find another moment or two like that, you can start to maybe create an identity and keep things headed in the right direction. I mean, there's a sliver of hope there. It's a sliver, but they have to have those moments stack on top of one another in order to keep that alive.
Yeah, and I don't. It was a great weekend in terms of results, and it keeps you, I guess, from being out of the conversation. It doesn't really put you back into the conversation for the NCAA tournament, but it keeps you from being out of it, I guess. But
that's right.
But yeah, Kentucky's going to be a bear this weekend. South Carolina, they had a stretch of about 2 or 3 really bad weeks of baseball back in 2023. And that Kentucky game, or that Kentucky series, was the biggest part of it. I remember just everybody getting hurt and everybody being hurt. Like, Evan Stone was playing second base, hadn't played second base since his freshman year of high school. It was that weekend was a disaster up there. But you got to go up there and win 2 out of 3. And I've been kind of talking about, and I don't know what Mike's perspective on this is exactly, but I think you feel okay about yourself and your positioning, going into the SEC tournament if you've won 13 games in the league. And for South Carolina to get to that 13 win mark, you gotta, over these last 4 series, you got to sweep 1 and you've got to win the other 3. So you're gonna have to go up there and play a team that maybe necessarily it plays a different style of baseball than pretty much anybody else in the league. Oklahoma does some things somewhat similar, but Kentucky is a bear for a lot of different reasons. And they just took 2 out of 3 from Tennessee this past weekend, and so they'll be feeling pretty good about themselves. They do play Louisville on Tuesday, so we'll see how that goes, see how that's managed. But South Carolina's got a tough little test ahead this week.
To your point on how they play, one of the key runs in that series was on a squeeze. I mean, they do things that we don't see much anymore. Mingione does. They're not nearly as talented as they were a year ago, their first Omaha team, but like you said, they just took 2 out of 3 against Tennessee. They keep you on your toes. They're kind of like that gnat that won't go away. A lot of times you're constantly trying to shoo it away, but it just keeps coming at you. So it'll be a good test. They're not one of the more talented teams in this league this year compared to the tops, but all you got to do is just see what they just did last weekend to know how much of a threat they can be.
They stole 18 bases against Tennessee this past weekend.
I know, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I know.
And I love the fact that they play a different kind of ball. You know, they're in some ways they're anti-analytics, and it reminds me a little bit, if you want to go all the way back to the way Tennessee used to play when it was Delmonico, and they went to a couple World Series when you had Chris Burke and Todd Helton and all those guys. But they routinely led the league in steals. They played a lot of small ball. The Park played large at Lindsey Nelson, and they were going to be kind of counter to what a lot of teams were, which is just grip it and rip it and see how many home runs we can hit. So are you going to the ballpark, John, this weekend?
Oh, well.
Have you been before?
I have. Yeah.
I mean, it's a beautiful ballpark. Now it's rarely full, but they spent a ton of money, and it's a really, really nice ballpark. I don't know what kind of crowds you're looking at, but I thought they did a really good job with that design compared to the prison yard that they used to play in.
Yeah, as nice as it is on the outside, it's 100 times better on the inside. The player facilities are just incredible down there. So,
yeah,
I don't want to take the conversation too far, but in this direction. But South Carolina's got to do some things around Founders Park, I think, to spruce it up a little bit. The rest of the SEC, again, apart from Missouri, you shouldn't consider Missouri in any baseball conversation anymore. But the rest of the SEC is comparable to South Carolina, to Founders Park in a lot of ways. Like, it's not the big differentiator that it used to be when it comes to recruiting. Everywhere's got a nice place, and everybody's got a full house. When they're winning, everybody's got the analytic machine data cap and those things, and the pitching labs and whatnot. Like, everybody's got those things now. So, Kentucky's in a great spot from a facility standpoint, and South Carolina probably needs a little sprucing up.
Coach Tanner's, I think before the season, I talked to him. He might have said something on the air, but we were talking off the air, and they obviously have a bunch of things that they're looking through. I mean, he's not the AD anymore, clearly, but they've been working on this. I don't know when all those plans will be finalized and said or whatever it is. And let's make it crystal clear, John nor anybody else is implying that just fix those things and they'll start winning games. And that's not what anybody's saying. But just because you brought up the ballpark, it used to be an erector set up there in Lexington. I remember routine fly balls in shallow right field that somehow dropped on the other side of the wall. I mean, it was ridiculous. But it
was pretty awful.
Yeah,
for a long
the
time.
lip behind going into the outfield, from the infield to the outfield. I mean, it was a 2-foot drop back there.
Yeah,
I mean, it would go down as much as Clemson's Hill would go up. Like, it was ridiculous. That place was a dump, but the new place is really nice.
Well, we'll see what they can do. As you pointed out, one of the problems Kentucky had earlier this season as well was pitching. They were not throwing it very well, and they have turned that around. They're 8-10 in league play. They've won 2 series now that they've defeated the Vols in Knoxville, and very similar to what just happened a couple of weeks ago. Oh, A&M struggling. Oh, they beat Tennessee in Knoxville, and they come home, and here comes South Carolina. So hopefully that doesn't repeat itself this weekend. All right, John, tonight is game 3. Speaking of Kentucky, of the softball series, the Wildcats are in town. The Gamecocks have already won it. They beat the you-know-what out of them in game 1 on Saturday, and then a squeaker yesterday, 1-0. Ashley Chastain's group is 34-11. They are 5th in the RPI. They have played in the most quad 1 games in college softball this year, 30 of those, and they're 19-11 in those contests. I spent some time chatting with her on Thursday morning or Thursday afternoon before making my way to the baseball field. And obviously, you got to keep winning. This is all with the premise that they have to continue to win games. But as of now, they are 100% locked to host a regional. Based on, I don't know how much of this you've been studying or if you have at all, but based on what we know today, what do they need to continue to do to be a top 8 national seed and have home field advantage all the way through the playoffs, or at least to the World Series?
Yeah, I mean, I would think they would probably just need to win a couple of. I mean, well, they've already clinched the series this weekend, obviously. So you've got 2 more SEC series left after this one. I mean, win 4 of those games. I mean, you feel like you're in a pretty good spot, right? From an RPI standpoint. I haven't looked this morning to see where they are. I know last week they were in the top 5 in the RPI. Are they still there?
They're at 5. According to Warren Nolan, they're at 5.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to feel really good about a regional host spot. You know, I think you start looking at top 8 and you know that should be the goal right now. You're definitely in position for it. So you know, there's some teams ahead of them in the SEC standings, and you know that plays a little bit of a part in there. But it's not the whole deal. It's not the whole resume. So. You know, you look at what you finish SEC play strong, you know, a couple of series wins or a sweep in there. And I feel like you got a great shot, especially when you go to Athens for the SEC tournament and win a couple of games there.
One thing that Ray told me, if that happens, they're going to look to install some extra seats, bleachers, whatnot.
In the outfield, right?
I guess, yeah, wherever it fits. But
yeah.
Because you know, Gamecock fans will come out and support that in droves.
It'll sell out in a hurry.
Yeah, having met Chastain for the first time this weekend, she came by the booth. I mean, that's a rock star. Like she is going. She's got the potential to really be a fan favorite. And I've said this many times, and John knows this, being around a bunch of SEC cities and travels. Softball can quickly become more than a fringe sport when you're good at it, and the fans when they give the sport a shot, they fall in love with it. It's quicker, it's action packed, it just has a certain buzz in the air that sometimes, quite frankly, if a baseball game is dragging and lacks, softball doesn't. So I could see that if this is not just an outlier, and I have no idea who's coming back, and I'll leave that up to you, John. But if they can put together a consistent postseason run, you will see this fan base fall in love with the sport and fall in love with her program.
Yeah, I agree completely, and especially when you make some comparisons to baseball. I mean, these games last about 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're real quick, and there's always a little bit of energy in those places. I mean, and a lot of it is because of, you know, the fact that the dugouts are as involved as they are. And that's a turnoff for some people, but you know, for others, it's not. So I don't know. I was telling somebody, I don't think I said it here, but I've never been in my life to a South Carolina softball game, not even back when I was a student until this year. And, you know, now I've been to a half a dozen or so. And it's been a really, really good experience. I mean, I skipped 2 of the baseball games to go to a softball game. So it's been an enjoyable team to watch. They've got some personalities out there, wrote a few features on a few of their players. And, you know, it's been, I do think I agree with you. I think if South Carolina is to host a regional as they should, and certainly a super that Beckham Field is going to be packed out, and that's a nice facility too. Like there's a lot to like about Beckham Field as well. So I think they probably deserve a few more fans than what they have when I've been out there. But you know, I do think that there'll be some folks who are latching on with the success that they're having.
Well, it's a very fan-friendly facility. It's easy to get into. You have access to the whole thing when you're in there. A couple of things too. One on the regional question. Right now. They're in a situation that we have oftentimes discussed on the baseball side when it comes to the postseason. How many SEC teams are you going to give a host site to? I mean, that's, you know what I mean? I know that there are a couple of others considered around the country, but then you also have a couple of ACC programs like Florida State, so how regionalized is this thing going to be? Is somebody going to get left out in lieu of a host site on the West Coast just to try to make things a little bit fair? And you don't want to be one of those probably 2 or 3 teams that's in that mix. You want to try to be in front of that. So obviously that's a big thing right now. And I'll make one other point. And I was talking to Ashley and some of her staff about this the other day. Mike, you mentioned the word rock star. I think one of the things that goes into that is how invested you are in the program that you're in, right? And how much is this? Are you here to coach? Are you here to build? What does that entail? And she pointed out to me, these road trips they've gone on. Like I said to her, I was a little surprised. I cut on the TV, they were at Arkansas. And we knew what to expect in Oklahoma. I didn't realize that Arkansas people love their softball as much as they do. And I said, the outfield is full, and you've got all, and so they take notes everywhere they go, and they go on all these tours in these when they get to these ballparks, and they go and they look at the facilities, the inside and the out, and they meet with different people and learn about their fundraising experiences and how they've done this and how they designed that and what they did. I mean, she has an entire vision for what this thing needs to be at South Carolina and how it's going to get there. And it's really neat to listen to that because I do think that, John, this, you go on the road. Mike, this, you go on the road as the voice of the Gamecocks. John, you're there. Teams get in, they're there to do a job. They work out, they stretch, they throw, they play, they eat, and then they go to sleep. There's a schedule when you go on the road, and they've deviated from that a little bit. This is a learning experience to build this program to the best that they can build it to. And it was a really enlightening conversation for me. And I see what they're going at. I think that goes into that term rock star you used, Mike.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't know that was for me.
Well, I was just kind of leaving it open ended. Whoever wanted to pick it up.
I'm just so distracted by not having the bird that I thought John would make up for the lack of white noise in this segment
he's
with
tweeting.
A comment there. But no, I again, and she is someone. Look, that's one of Ray's hires, and certainly so it's kind of a soft spot in his heart for seeing her build something here. And I've seen them built at a lot of other SEC schools. I mean, as much as we talk about the dominance in SEC baseball, it's even greater in softball. Correct me if I'm wrong, John. Every team made the tournament last year from the SEC?
I think that's right.
Not everybody has a team, but everybody that has a team made it.
I think that's right.
I believe that's right. And
it's
so,
usually not more than 1 or 2 that's left out.
Yeah, this is another thing that as the SEC has really put its signature on as, okay, let's go ahead and dominate this thing. And like I said, I just think sometimes falling in love with the coach and the coach's personality is a big part of selling a sport like this. And I think she has that. I think she's kind of got that personality and the ability to sell. When Ray first got the baseball job, a lot of what he was doing was selling. We talked about this on the air because when he got the job, South Carolina baseball was not in a good way. It was not in a good way at all. And a lot of people thought, well, SEC, it's a new era. What's this going to look like? So he never turned down an interview request. He never turned down a chance to talk to a booster. He never turned down a chance. Basically, at that point, he was selling. And he says that's what he learned from Skip Bertman at LSU. LSU baseball was nothing before Skip Bertman got there. And Skip was like Barnum and Bailey. I mean, he turned college baseball into a thing, and LSU fans quickly got behind it. So I do believe there's a lot of that's going on behind the scenes with softball as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Dawn Staley, for her part, did a whole lot of selling too when she first got here. obviously the winning came, and people show up in droves, and tickets are sold for $500 a piece on the secondary market. So, that's obviously been built into a monster, but it hadn't always been a monster. She had to work really hard to get fans in the stands over there too. But I agree wholeheartedly with everything both of you guys said.
All right. We'll ask you one quick football question, get you out of here in the next couple of minutes, John. As far as takeaways from the spring season, if you will, or even the spring game, is there anything that came out of Friday or has come out of the last month plus of football that you believe is an important something important to watch or keep an eye on, or whatever it may be here in the summer months?
Well, our buddies Hale and Alex have done really the heavy lifting, and I certainly wasn't there on Friday night, and they've done a great job when it comes to football. I guess probably my biggest takeaway is how, I guess, I don't want to say how good, because they haven't done it on the field yet, but how far along the group of wide receivers seem to be. I think that's encouraging. That I heard Mike talking about. Before I jumped on, about Auburn's lack of wide receivers over what you said, 72
lack of a first round wideout.
Yeah, that's incredible. But South Carolina's wide receiver room certainly seems to be in a much better place than what a lot of folks seem to believe. After last season, and missing on some portal guys and whatever else. So that was something that's really been intriguing to me. Now, I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean South Carolina's a 10-win team versus a 7-win team, but it's a development that I think is encouraging and exciting, because let's be honest, it's fun to watch good quarterback play, good passing games, good wide receivers. Like, it's great to have an incredible offensive line, and you have to have that to be able to play competent offensive football. But those wide receivers can make you on Sports Center and bring you to your feet real quick. And I look forward to seeing those guys out there in the fall.
It's come a long way. Just a couple of years ago, we didn't think they had one wide out, and now they might have more than that. John, we'll let you run on that note. North Florida tomorrow night at Founders Park, 6:30. First pitch, and we know that you'll have that covered for Carolina baseball. Bring the birds back next week if you don't mind.
Yeah, we can get that done. I know the neighbors are going to put in a pool at some point here too, so but hopefully that won't be next Monday.
North Florida, by the way, they are the ospreys, which is a bird. So if you wanted to get something really exotic for that collection you have, John, get an osprey.
Go get you an osprey.
I'm not sure how enjoyable the time would be for an osprey in my backyard, but maybe we'll see.
Yeah, you have to improve your habitat back there. Build a little pond or something.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
See you
Appreciate
soon.
you guys.
Yeah,
see you, man.
there you go. John Whittle. All right, Palm Casual. They're open in Wilmington. Just talking to their general manager yesterday. They are ready for sales. I know Wilmington isn't in South Carolina, but we all know people up there. So if somebody needs to spruce up their back porch, make it a Palm Casual back porch. PalmCasual.com. Plus 4 locations across South Carolina, down in Bluffton, Summerville, Myrtle Beach, or the Dirty Myrtle, as Mike calls it, and Mount Pleasant. PalmCasual.com. I do have a couple of gripes with the spring game. I'm going to air those grievances when we get back. And also, Gamecocks Hoops has picked up another portal acquisition, Mike. I've got a very, very interesting detail on that portal pickup that you might not be aware of.
I've got a comp for you on that pickup.
Okay.
I think if nothing else, the comp is encouraging.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that this is going to be a pretty interesting conversation, because a lot of people aren't aware of what I'm going to tell them. I wasn't aware of it.
I'm not aware. I have no idea where you're going, but I kind of like that. I like the mystery that you're bringing to the table on this. So that's a good thing. But yeah, we can chop that up. I know we can't chop it up at Salty Nut or Sharky's or Speakeasy or Bar None. But we can chop it up somewhere in 5 Points, right?
Or just to go to D's Wings.
Or just go to D's. That's true. They got plenty of booze there.
They'll chop it up for you. Yeah.
They will chop it up. Chop up some good wing chips. Semi-floppy with the vinegar.
Talking about the chips, gentlemen.
Yes.
All right. Hour 2 coming up.
Where your head's at. I'm talking about Mike here for my good friend Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage. Let's face it, it's been a rough go for mortgage rates the last couple of years. And now more than ever, you need someone on your side to get you the very best possible rate on a new mortgage or a refi. That's where Troy comes in. 27 years of experience working for you. Conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, rehabilitation loans, all doable with my man Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage. And when I say doable, I mean the best possible rate that's out there. It's a phone call that can literally save you thousands of dollars. 803-238-0111. 803-238-0111. You can also check out the website ggmortgage.com.
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, The Show.
Nana's Porch presents a Southern staple delivered right to your doorstep. Nana's Porch locally crafted pimento cheese has been a hit for years at weddings, tailgates, and other events. Now you can order online and have it sent to your home. Visit nanasporch.com. That's nanasporch.com and click the pimento cheese tab to choose between their original pimento cheese and their jalapeno smoked pimento cheese set. nanasporch.com, man, that's good.
Fans, Club Chief has arrived. Become a Big Chief Club member or a Big Chief Club Golden Gear member for exclusive access to our Nana's Porch chat box on Inside the Gamecocks The Show. Plus, you'll get access to our VIP tailgates, prize drawings, merch, and much more. A portion of your monthly membership goes to the Garnet Trust, supporting NIL at the University of South Carolina. Pull up your Chief Sports app and join on the home page. Thank you so much for being a member of Club Chief, and we look forward to meeting many of you very soon.
I said, oh, Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Disaster comes uninformed. During and after natural disasters or accidents, there can be a heavy loss to property. It can become extremely difficult to bounce back to what you knew before. Having your home or office destroyed or damaged by water, fire, smoke, or mold affects your personal and business lifestyle. Resto Pros of the Midlands is here to help. Open 24/7. Call them when you need them. 803-493-0170.
Set up the screen, and it goes to Brewer. 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Brewer. His second of the day. Pitches it to Brewer. Turns the corner. Touchdown, number 3 of the afternoon.
Hey folks, it's Mike Morgan for Ryan Brewer Fence. That's right, you know the former Gamecock legend as a terrific college football player. Well, I know him as that too. I also know him as the guy that runs a great business, one of the best businesses in South Carolina. How do I know that? Well, for one, I'm actually a client of Ryan's. I had my home in Columbia done years ago, and his crew did an outstanding job, just as he does for everybody else. Whether you're in the market for a fence, railings, columns, or anything in between, their craftsmanship, their experience, and service second to none. Ryan Brewer Fence has over 15 years of experience with consultation and installation of residential and commercial fencing and railings. Rest assured your job will be done with an unparalleled level of expertise, and it's done on time, and they do it right the first time. Again, you're not going to do any better than Ryan Brewer. Ryan Brewer Fence. The website is ryanbrewer.net. Set up an appointment today. Tell him Mike sent you.
This is my dirt.
Welcome back to Inside the Gamecocks, the morning show. Presented by the Barn Dominium Company and Resto Pros of the Midlands. Hour 2 starts now.
Yeah, I'd hate to be the first to sell. This is my dirt, these are my fields, where I harvest what I plant. That little pond, I catch bluegill. I built that barn with my 2 hands, where I raise my babies, a piece of me. Now this ain't just a piece of land. The money be great, but I can't part ways with a life that works. You can't put a greenback dollar on what it's worth. This is my...
All right, it's hour 2 inside the Gamecocks The Morning Show, brought to you by Gamecock Traditions. GamecockTraditions.com. Get your Gamecock gear delivered to your doorstep. The Golden Tones of the great Mike Morgan. All right, let me ask you a question. How familiar are you with former stars of the Harlem Globetrotters?
I mean, Curly Neal comes to mind. There's a few.
Okay.
I didn't watch a ton of that, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I was like, this is an exhibition.
How familiar are you with Predators of the Sea or of the ocean?
Well, Jamie, you know that's a big passion of mine. And,
yes. Where?
When I'm not watching sharks devour paddle boarders, I'm watching. Okay.
You said the word.
I said shark.
So how familiar are you with the Mongolian shark who once donned the red, white, and blue of the Harlem Globetrotters?
I'm not. I don't remember that, but I know where you're going with this kid's nickname.
Well,
Mongolian Mike, which is what they call me when I go to a Szechuan restaurant. I get the Mongolian beef.
The Mongolian Mike, because his father was the Mongolian shark who played for the Harlem Globetrotters.
Oh, no, I did not know that. Okay.
Yes, his father.
How about that?
Now, this Mike Sharabchomps is how this is pronounced. Okay, I got that directly from Utah.
It's a family show.
Sharabchomps.
No need to make it personal.
His father was once considered. He's from Mongolia, obviously, but played professionally in Japan, played in China, played in Czechoslovakia, and then joined the Globetrotters. He was once called the Michael Jordan of Mongolia. I didn't know there was such a thing, but that was him.
I did not have that.
And but he played for the Globetrotters. He was 7 feet tall. Speaks 3 languages. And this is his son, who has now committed and signed with Lamont Paris. And he's 6'9", about 200 pounds or so. Coming from Utah, has played at San Francisco, and I'm missing one school. San Francisco.
Utah is where he's at, where he was last year. I don't know the other one.
Started Dayton. He started his career at Dayton. Went to San Fran, went to Utah. Now he's coming to South Carolina.
Yeah.
Is somebody shaving? Oh.
No, that's the dryer in this place, which is, I'm going to have to get up here in a second. But you hear that pretty well? Yeah, that could be annoying. Okay. All right, tell you what. Hold that thought. I'll be right back.
I'll carry on with the shark of Mongolia. There's no problem. Oh, anyways. That was too funny. I thought maybe the electric razor had popped out. But anyways, the Shark of Mongolian's son, Mike Sharabchomps, is going to attend the University of South Carolina. Obviously, this is on the heels of them losing the Trace and Eagle staff, who has committed now and signed, I believe, with West Virginia since he departed the Gamecocks transfer portal recruiting class. There you go. Hello, Mike.
That was good. We'll edit that in post-op. Yeah, here's the comp that I was given by someone close to the program. A little bit of Talon Cooper. So he is not uber athletic. He's actually 6'8". Can play the point. He's not going to go in there and just blow by people and dunk on somebody's face. That's not his game. It really will be more like a Talon Cooper, manage the game, set up your teammates, play smart basketball, don't turn it over.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't think he's an elite shooter. He's certainly not an elite scorer based on those numbers. I think they still need to find another shooter. There's not another Eagle staff out there, but he will play the Talon Cooper role, is what I was told.
Well, I mean, if he comes in and scores 9 or 10 points a game, doesn't turn it over, and manages I mean, that's what they're looking for. Like, they need to find that. I mean, Lamont's been pretty open about that. He was for what it's worth, he was a 4-star basketball player coming out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that I understand on this kid is he's a smart basketball. Coach Parrish was on our show one time, and he called it basketball IQ. Does he have high basketball IQ?
Right.
Those are the players that they're looking for. I feel like they needed to get back to that. I think they like where they are with this.
If he was 6'8" and he was uber athletic, you'd be having comps to Penny Hardaway. That's not who he is. But just remember, when Carolina got Talon Cooper in the portal, nobody was exactly jumping up for joy about that, because Talon Cooper was not, a standout at Minnesota or anywhere else at that point, and he wasn't going to wow you with an and one tape full of majestic highlights. Neither is this kid, but that's not what they need. Now they could use a few people around him like that, but for the time being, they had to solve the point guard gap or vacuum, and that's what they're hoping he can do. And again, just more like a Talon Cooper, steady, run the offense, play smart, and just like Talon, in fact, he's about 3 inches taller than Talon. Having a point guard with size can make up for maybe the lack of just off the charts athleticism. If you've got a guy with that kind of size, then that's certainly attractive as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think of point guards as smaller dudes. That's not the case anymore in basketball. But the last guy that we saw of this size running the point for South Carolina was P.J. Dozier, who was about 6'7" himself. 6'6", 6'7", somewhere in there himself. And
now, P.J. was a little more, P.J. was a pretty athletic kid.
Correct.
And that's why he was a draft pick. If he would have stayed another year, he would have been higher. That's a whole other story. And I don't know, where is PJ now? I don't even know.
I know he was on and off with somebody.
Yeah, he was kind of like a two-way guy.
Kind of up and down. Yeah, I think he did sign a two-way deal, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so this is not going to, he's not going to be that type of athlete, to be fully transparent. That's not what, PJ was a McDonald's All-American for a reason, a 6'6" uber athletic point guard. That's not what, give me that name again.
Mike Sharavjamps. Sharavjamps.
That's not what Mongolian Mike, that's not the way he plays it.
Yeah.
He's gonna lay out the beef, put a little spice, but not too much spice in it.
Well, Mike, you've been there as a play-by-play guy in basketball before. The action is moving. You got to be able to spit things out. I'm thinking of my friend Derek Scott wholeheartedly right now with the addition of Mike Sharavjamps and Christ Essendoko and some of these other guys that are.
Well, let me tell you what Derek's going to do for his own sanity. He's going to come up with some nicknames.
Yeah, that's right.
You're going to shorten those puppies up. You're gonna shorten those, particularly on radio, where you got to describe everything and you got to be quick with it. You don't have time to do 7-syllable names. Just got to shorten it up.
Derek, just go to the numbers, man. 42 with the pass to 7 down low to 11, back to 42 to the wing for 3. He's got it.
I like Mongolian Mike. I think that's one of the cooler nicknames I've heard in a while.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it comes honestly. He was actually born in Phoenix, but yeah. So it's an interesting, it's beginning. They're not done. I mean, they'll continue to fill out the roster clearly. But Sharavjamps, Eli Strong, the 6'8", 35-pound forward coming from Boston College, who played for Earl Grant. And then you got Kobe Knox, the shooter from we've talked about him from South Florida. His brother plays for Cal at Arkansas, I believe.
Right. Well, yes. And then
he's
the
still
other
there,
one,
right?
I believe so. I can't keep up with Cal's roster, but the older one played for Cal at Kentucky. He was a one and done, and then was a lottery pick, I believe, of the Knicks. And they're all the son of the former Florida State wideout.
Mm-hmm.
He played with Charlie Ward and that national championship bunch. So great athletic family.
Got it in his veins. That's always a good sign.
No doubt.
The Christ Esendoko, who we mentioned, he's 7 foot, 290 pounder, maybe a shade under 7, but he's close enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course Michi is back, and he will be the guy who's circled because everybody's familiar with Michi, so he'll be the one that everybody circles to keep an eye on. I don't know how to evaluate. I'm not even attempting to do that. This group of transfers, Mike. I think it's way premature to do it, but.
Here's the one thing I'll say, Jamie, because I know what a lot of people are probably thinking. Man, this ain't Eagle staff. I wanted a top 30 portal guy. I don't see this guy in the top 30. Is this just a developmental guy? Is this just a whatever? What I would say to that is a lot of this, when you're not getting the cream of the crop, which Carolina rarely does, you got to do a little money ball. It's the era we're in. You got to find guys that are under the radar and see value in them that the so-called big boys don't. Mm-hmm. And before you say, well, that never works, the team that just won the national championship in basketball, it's exactly what they did. Right. No McDonald's All-Americans, guys in the portal that were not highly touted, and a couple of diamonds in the rough that they recruited a couple of years ago. That group, devoid of stars, devoid of heavily hyped kids, just won a national title. So you have to hope that you've got the right money ball guys, value over hype, that can produce a winner, much like it did 2 years ago when nobody thought South Carolina was going to be worth a damn. So that's all I'll say. I'm not trying to give false expectations. I have no idea. I've not seen this kid play. A couple of the guys they've picked up I have. A couple of guys they've picked up I haven't. And I don't think they're done, right? They're not at 15 scholarships.
No, they're not.
So we'll see. We'll see. I guarantee you this. The team will be better than what you saw last year.
Yeah. I want to expand on that and go a little bit further, though. Like, we just saw Auburn, Florida. Obviously, Florida won the national championship. Auburn competing for the national championship. And in recent days, star players from those teams have entered the transfer portal. I mean, Baker Mazzara, enters the transfer portal. And again, as fans of college basketball, me, you, and everybody in between, we might have a job to do. We're still fans of the sport, and so is everybody else. I think when you see those things, I still truly believe that it is like it, because it is shocking. You're like, wait a second, like, we know you're getting NIL money. You just won a national championship, or you were just in the Final Four. You're primed and ready to go. You're going to be the star next year. Where are you going? Why are you getting into the transfer portal? It's still hard for all of us to grasp what actually is going on. Where's he going? He's going where the money takes him to go. That's where he's going. And it's easy for fans when they see these type things to make the argument, and they're not wrong in making the argument. It is much more so about dollars and cents and way less about maybe holding a trophy at the end of the year.
Right.
If the right amount is on the table.
Yeah. And so I just gave you the anatomy of how Florida built a title team. Let's talk about Auburn since you brought them up. Now, the Pettiford kid was the one highly touted kid, the freshman guard out of Connecticut, but he wasn't the star of the team. The two stars of the team were Janai Broom, who was a transfer from Morehead State a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned Baker Mazzara. Where did Baker Mazzara come from? Well, he started at Duquesne. He's a New Jersey kid. Started at Duquesne, then went to San Diego State, then went to Northwest Florida State, whatever that is, and then went to Auburn. You see what I'm saying? Like these are not like blue chip can't miss guys. You no longer have to do that. That's the way to win in football. Typically, the team with got the most highly touted kids are the ones playing for the title. Not a whole lot of dark horse stories in college football. But in basketball, you can win a different way. And that's the way South Carolina is going to have to win.
Yeah. Well, and that might be how they win with this group.
You've got a couple of programs, from what I've been told, are spending over $10 million in NIL in college basketball in the SEC. $10 million. That's not where Carolina is going to be. It's just not.
No.
But you don't have to be. That's not where Florida was. That's not where Auburn was. They made it to the Final Four.
Right. Wow. $10 million.
$10 million.
Control yourself. Catch your breath. All right. It's 11:20. Mike will hit a timeout. If you don't mind, you just slip us into one here, sir.
Let's do that. Let's talk about our good friend Ryan Brewer. I wouldn't be surprised if he was at the game Friday night. I'm not positive. He was.
I think so.
Did you?
I saw Jeff Barnes. I was trying to get up to him and ask where the rest of that crew was, but I couldn't get to him.
That's athletic director Jeff Barnes, right?
Yes, still very tall but very slim. Jeff Barnes.
Yeah, lean.
Looks wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ryan Brewer still looks terrific and still does a terrific job for all your needs in fencing, columns, rails. Ryan Brewer Fence can handle it all. Experience, quality, and efficiency. For over 15 years, rest assured your job will be done with an unparalleled level of expertise. Their experience is their advantage, done on time and done for the right price and done the right way. That's Ryan Brewer, ryanbrewer.net. You can get a free estimate right there on the website. You can just give them a call as well. And as always, tell them you heard about it here on ITG.
It is it's 11:20. It is time to step aside more with the goal. We'll get into some Carolina football next. Couple of observations from the spring game this weekend, and a couple of other things that maybe the university might want to look at addressing before they do this again next year. Hang tight. Inside the Gamecocks, the morning show powered by Electric Bikes of Charleston. Will be right back.
It's gone! That ball is going to be out of here! Fair ball in the corner!
The atmosphere in Founders Park is electric. There's nothing like being loud and proud for our Gamecocks. Gamecock Traditions proudly supports Carolina baseball and wants you to look your best while you're at the ballpark. Come see us and choose from the best selection of game hats, hoodies, shirts, and all that entails the baseball logo. From tailgate gear to jewelry and plenty for your kids, Gamecock Traditions is your Gamecock baseball locker room. Don't forget, we have the widest selection for all sports and USC apparel. Come see us in Lexington or in the village at Sandhill, or order online and have it shipped to your doorstep at GamecockTraditions.com. Go Gamecocks!
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
Nana's Porch presents a Southern staple delivered right to your doorstep. Nana's Porch locally crafted pimento cheese has been a hit for years at weddings, tailgates, and other events. Now you can order online and have it sent to your home. Visit nanasporch.com. That's nanasporch.com and click the pimento cheese tab to choose between their original pimento cheese and their jalapeno smoked pimento cheese set. nanasporch.com. Man, that's good.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
You're tuned into Inside the Gamecocks, the morning show. Part of the Chief Sports Network and presented by Gamecock Traditions.
All right, 11:25. Welcome back inside the Gamecocks, the morning show, brought to you by Tony Pope, Tony Pope State Farm, TonyPope.com. All right, let's start with the good, Mike. As I mentioned, when I say you can't draw anything from spring games, I mean, if somebody's looking, oh, this offensive line needs work, dude. You had a 4-stringer and a 3rd-stringer and a first. I mean, they didn't even know who they're playing next to half the time. But you can draw some other things just using the eyeball, right? There, you can always identify a couple if you know what you're looking for from an eyeball standpoint. One, John brought up the wide receivers. He's spot on about that. They've done a nice job with that room. There's no question. They look the part. They've got the ability. This is as long as they stay intact, and they keep this group together with the portal and all that stuff that exists in college athletics. It's a good group, and now you see why Mike Furry elected to go the high school route and sign a bunch of young guys as opposed to signing some dudes out of the portal. He wanted to truly be able to build this thing from the ground up. And I will say the veteran group looked good. Vandrevius Jacobs, I think, has a chance to really be pretty good. JC was on that last year. And, I know that, he got a little banged up here and there and maybe kind of slipped a little bit. That's not saying there's other guys don't have. I'm just saying, watching him play, this room has ability. They only had like one wide receiver 3 years ago. So they've come a long way really quickly. And I'll add to that, this is, I think, has a chance to be significant in the long run here. Cutter Woods is a good quarterback, and they signed a good player in this kid. We've all seen freshman quarterbacks, Mike, and we know the ones. You can look at the ones that have talent, but the game is way too fast for him. We've all seen that. It's not for him. It's slowed down. But I think that the significant takeaway that I have in that is the starter is from the state of South Carolina. And I'm not bypassing Air Nolan or Dante Reno. I'm not doing any of that. But Cutter Woods is also from the state of South Carolina. And I think that that's a really good thing when you build your program. It's not easy, as we all well know, to go find high-quality quarterbacks from within your borders. It's actually pretty rare that you get a chance to do that. And there's another team in the state that's pretty good too. So if you sign 1 or 2 of them or 3 of them or whatever it is, you've done a nice job if you continue to develop those guys. And boy, it looks like this kid, he's going to have a special year being able to sit there and watch Lenore Sellers work for 12 or 13 games, Mike, And so that to me, I thought, seeing the guys, I mean, Josiah Thompson has taken a step up from a physicality standpoint, expected him to. He looks every bit of an SEC left tackle. The defensive linemen, I mean, those guys look good, from the play of the game. I'm not getting into all that. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. But I'm saying, what do good players look like? You can see that with some of these guys. They've got good football players.
Yeah, they got athletes now. They've closed that gap. I think, we saw it certainly on the defensive side of the ball and getting there on the offensive side of the ball with a couple of positions you mentioned. And this is not a knock on Robbie Ashford. When he came into the LSU game, he made some plays, but you need somebody who's a little bit of a bigger threat than Robbie Ashford this year if Lenoris goes down with any type of injury, which is always a possibility. So that you're hitting on a part of the game that you don't want to think about because you just want to assume that you never have to go to the backup quarterback. But most teams have to at some point. It just stuff happens. And so, you want to be able to put a guy out there where you don't have to completely scale back the playbook.
Right.
Right. And it's just like, well, let's just run it almost every time because we don't feel confident in our backup quarterback making many plays through the air. So I think that's a key spot.
Well, no doubt. And, you hear things like, the old, he can make all the throws. I love hearing that. Well, yeah, I know that. He's, he's a college quarterback.
Skelly.
Hope he can make the throws. Yeah, if you can't, you kind of can't play the game. And that's certainly true. I was looking more, just how calm is he back there? I mean, is he running around scared to death? I mean, half the time you have 2-3 guys about to sack you in these spring games. I mean, it's just all a mix and match ordeal. And it was, there was a stress level that was fairly low for him, which I thought was very telling. And so, love seeing that again. Outside of, there's just not much to draw from this. And I've read some reports. I know people are anxious for information. They love their football. Golly, if anybody gives you like a true in-depth report, please take it with a grain of salt when it comes to specific groupings and how good they can be. And my goodness, we didn't even see half the players. And the other half you saw were for maybe a handful of actual football that resembled a real game. I'll say this too. Let me shift gears a little bit here to the fan side. Remember I mentioned earlier, I feel like this is more of a recruiting deal now than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that. I'm totally on board if that's what Shane Beamer wants to do, and it's going to help his program continue to grow and build itself up. I think that's actually a wonderful way to approach this. And maybe programs, Mike, that are just doing away with spring games might have something to learn from that. Shane probably wants as many of them to go away as possible. He can bring all those guys to Columbia when they get out there. But I want to defend the fans a little bit here. Last year in spring games of years past, you make these things for the fans, right? Like, yeah, you want to see your guys do some things and stuff like that. But if you want 30,000, 35,000, 40,000 plus fans to come out and spend their Friday, their Good Friday in particular this year, or on a Saturday going to a baseball game, or the weather's nice, and instead of staying in Charleston or Myrtle Beach and going to the beach, driving up, or maybe foregoing a day or two of spring break. This thing always falls around somebody's spring break. You want your folks to come spend a day at the ballpark. Put your best foot forward. That would be my constructive criticism. And this can't be blamed on Coach Tanner because he ain't the AD. And I'm not saying it has to be blamed on Jeremiah Donati either. I don't know where the blame would fall. But you asked, and there were about 35,000 people there to come out. You got nothing for them in Gamecock Park. Nothing. There's one tent of people selling food. Last year they had a big screen with the baseball game on. They had jump castles. They had just things for family, cornhole, and the Gamecock Club giving away posters. And kids love their posters, Mike. There was nothing. Nothing. Like, they did nothing, aside from offer free parking in Gamecock Park. And then you get into the ballpark, and this whole thought process of let's fill up the west side sounds great until it's full. And then you got thousands of people standing around, and they're going, where do we go? And, I spoke to somebody there who was trying to figure this out. And they said, I said, we're going to walk over, because I didn't get a media pass for this. I had my daughter with me.
Right.
And I was like, well, I'm going to go to the south end zone. Well, that's closed. I said, well, there's people sitting over there. Well, they opened it up for about 1,000. Now we're going to direct everybody to the west upper. And I said, well, this wasn't on him at all. He was doing what he was told to do. But I was like, this is a little ridiculous. And he said, if it was me, I would have done something different. Yes, you're right about that. Why would they not just open the lower bowl or the north or the south? So you don't have anything for families to do outside the ballpark. And then you cram them into the west side, and the thousands that get in before kickoff, it's a spring game. Most of them aren't in there for 45 minutes watching warm-ups and anything like that. Now they're standing in hallways trying to figure out where to go. So they spend 5-10 minutes walking up the walkways to get to the west upper, and the first quarter's over. I saw this all over the place. That's got to change. Again, it's not the biggest deal in the world, Mike. Like, I know people want to hear more of the ins and outs of football and stuff, but the game isn't televised, which is fine. But if you want them to come, why not let them sit where they want to sit in the lower bowl? Why not give them something to do before the game instead of having thousands of people out there just sitting there, just standing around? They didn't know what to do. There's a lot of people didn't fire up full-fledged tailgates and stuff. It's a spring game.
So they thought, well, like years past, we'll go hang out in Gamecock Park. We can't do that. There's nothing to do there. Just stand there. So I thought that the university really let their fan base down personally. So I'm being a little critical of it. But I feel like fans deserve to be defended in that because I heard it left and right. And I thought, well, that's something that needs to be said. So we'll say it.
Well, yeah. And you, of all people, like you said, you went, you took your daughter. Spring games are really more of like a family type of atmosphere, or at least theoretically, that's what they could be, because you're not going to have a sellout.
Right.
You're not going to have people theoretically being so into everything that they're drunk and unruly. And it's almost like a minor league game feel in a lot of ways. These spring games are now turning into that, right?
Right.
It's a lot of the, okay, how do we make it just people can make a fun, because a lot of the people that go to that, like you, they don't live in Columbia. They drive 2, 3, 4 hours to get there for that game. So I'm with you. I mean, if what is going to be on the field is continuing to decline in terms of an actual game, it's really no longer a spring football game. It's more of like a showcase.
Yeah.
Then you want to try to make it as entertaining on the ancillary stuff that people can still have a good time if they decide to make a day of it or a weekend of it.
Absolutely. Again, I get it. It sounds like, I mean, we don't make a mountain out of a molehill. I'm not trying to turn our program into that or anything. That's not me. But I was watching it and just exactly what you just said a moment ago. Shane Beamer wants the best atmosphere he can get, in large part for recruiting. And then obviously, he wants his guys to be able to play in front of an atmosphere. The young guys, it's important for the young kids to be able to see 30, 40,000 people there. And I'm on board with all that. I agree. I 100% agree. But they scaled everything back from anything they've done, and it didn't make any sense to me. I thought, you want like a couple of years ago, do you remember this? Do you remember Big Gamecock Weekend? They started promoting it as baseball and tennis and soccer, and there's a track and field event, and you had the 5K run. And I think the 5K run is this coming weekend now, the 26th. And I get it. You don't want to do it Easter weekend. I totally understand that. But nothing else. I thought that was pretty sad, to be honest with you, on behalf of the University of South Carolina. That needs to be better. So they need to improve that.
Yeah, and I'm sure that what you just said was echoed by many and won't fall on deaf ears.
It was.
I think everybody is trying to pivot here, talking to people around the SEC and trying to figure out what the future of all this is. Again, I think these things are on the verge of extinction.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you want to keep something, call it a Gamecock Gala, I don't know, but it's really more emblematic of that than it is an actual game. There was a time where all these schools would line it up, and you wouldn't let your quarterback take a hit from a blitzing safety, but for the most part, it at least looked like a game, and you took something away from how players performed against each other. And then I've watched it devolve slowly year by year into just kind of a silly showcase. And to the point now where even the coaches are like, you know what, we don't want this to be on TV.
Yeah.
And the moment that happened, I can't tell you how many people have asked me, like, where is this team? Why are they not? What happened to the spring game? It's not on TV. Like, you better get used to that.
Yeah.
Because the production company, an ESPN is not going to spend tens of thousands of dollars if the game is just it's silly and almost unwatchable.
Yeah.
And there was a time where the coaches really wanted it anyway, because it was 2 consecutive hours. Usually they were just 2. Sometimes Georgia and Alabama would get a 3-hour broadcast. But it was 2 consecutive hours of 2 people in a suit in the booth announcing it. And the play was almost secondary to, well, let's take a look at the depth chart of the wide receivers this year and see what Shane Beamer's got coming back. And that was like, okay, this is still something. They're still talking football for 2 hours. I'm in on this. And they would replay the games about 10,000 times from April until opening week in college football. It was programming. But when the coaches decide they don't want you there, then that's pretty much like, okay, it's time to close up shop. Spring football is not going to be a big deal anymore on television. And for the people that go, you try to make it worth their while. That is time out on an Easter weekend. That is money for gas and everything else. And you try to make it worth their while. So I do think, though, we're headed in the opposite direction, Jamie. I think these things are hanging on by a thread.
Well, I 100% agree with that. You're exactly right there. And, we might have seen the last spring game at South Carolina for all we know. I don't know. I mean, I like I said, it hit me. I do think that they're trying to do this for recruiting, but make it a festival or something, where there's things for families to do pregame. Now, I'll give them credit. The fireworks were fun and the Gamecock walk and stuff like that. But outside of that, it was really pretty sorry. And I'll add this too, and I'm sure I'm speaking to somebody out there directly, and I hope they're glad that we're defending them. There's a lot of people in that stadium for these spring games, Mike, and I'm just going to be point blank honest. It just can't afford to do it during the regular season. It is not cheap, and that's not a shot at anybody. It's not at all. It's just where we are in time. Like, things are very expensive, and some families have to make a decision. Do I take my kids and spend, including hotels and gas and food and in-game and tickets and everything else, $500 to $1,000 for my family of four to go watch a game this weekend? Or, or do we do something different for fall break, or do we pay the bills, or whatever the case is? This is the one chance they might get to actually go watch their favorite guys play the sport of football at Williams-Brice Stadium. And they just show up and that's it. It's just there. I just disagree with it.
Yeah, no, it's a valid point. And part of the reason why I think with Whittle, we talked about the attendance at women's basketball, which again is number one in the country almost every year now, right?
Yeah.
Part of that is it's very economical. Well,
Right.
that's from what I was told by somebody involved in that office or whatever you want to call it. That's about to change too. That those rates are about to go up. I don't know how much. Not in my lane, but the moment you have something that there's that high of a demand for, ticket prices go up. I mean, I remember when the whole Capitol campaign came down in 07-ish, 06-ish. The Tommy Suggs video, like, hey guys, we got to step it up, and people were like everywhere else, like, you're charging me more money for the seats I've had for 30 years on the 45-yard line. It was a huge but you had to do it. If you were going to keep up with the Joneses, you had to do it. So you're right. Now, a lot of this prices people out.
Yeah.
Football especially. So I understand what you're saying. For those that want to go, but it's just not economically feasible. Something like this is the closest thing you can get to it without having to pour out a bunch of money.
No question. All right, enough on that. 11:40. We're on time with breaks today, Mike. This is killer,
I'm
man.
Proud of you. I'm proud of you.
This is fantastic.
No, it's clock integrity. It's very important in the game of football. Clock integrity. You're looking at that play clock. No pre-snap penalties, no delay of games. You are a veteran QB, and you are leading this team. Some people call you a game manager. I don't like that term. I think they're underestimating your athleticism, Jamie. But still, you help. It's all about winning, and you're providing wins.
All right, if you don't mind, could you slide us into this fun final break?
I sure could. I tell you what I would recommend people we were talking about the bars that close down in 5 Points, and I keep getting text messages on that in terms of ones that they're still sad about. Moosehead Saloon and Pavlov's. Those closed down a few years ago. Those were popular ones. But D's is still around. And D's is not your typical just bar because they got a bunch of great food. I talked about the last time I was there just a few days ago. I didn't get the wings, which I always love. I did the buffalo chicken wrap. It's like the best buffalo chicken wrap I've ever had. Taco Tuesday tomorrow. 75-cent wings today. Voted the best wings by the state, the Free Times. for almost a decade now, over a dozen times overall. Top sports bar in the Midlands, voted several times. So it's a great spot if you haven't already done it. And if you're in Columbia, you probably have, but just a reminder, it's still a great place to go for daily specials. Don't forget Wednesday evening, 18 wings and a pitcher of beer for $29. That'll take care of 2 or 3 people in style. Ran into Billy and the family there. They do such a good job. They're always in the restaurant. They're always working hard. If you want to own a restaurant, Jamie, you don't just sit back at home and delegate. You got to be in there. You got to get your hands dirty. That's what they do at D's. And they provide just outstanding food and environment. Check them out, West Columbia, not too far from the baseball park. D's Wings.
We'll hit a timeout. One final segment to go on the morning show, and we will be right back.
Remarkable, 5-star, sensational. These are just some of the terms used to describe nationally renowned chef William Turner out of Scottsdale, Arizona. Originally from Georgetown, South Carolina, and a diehard Gamecocks fan, Chef Will made his way out west and has served parties from every state and many countries from across the globe. If you're in Arizona or have plans elsewhere, visit chefwilliamturner.com to inquire about private events and more. From MLB to NFL, the chef has served everyone. He's won all the awards, done all the press. There's a reason for that. Food from every culture, all of it first class. chefwilliamturner.com and Chef Will Turner on socials. You won't believe what you see. You really won't believe how it tastes.
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, The Show.
We got started in 1979. Because we're a manufacturer, we're able to control our costs. That's why we like to manufacture as much of the product as we can, because in our factory stores we can offer a competitive edge over other people around the country. When people come into one of our Palm Casuals, it's like they're buying their car at Detroit. They're going right to the factory and buying their car.
30-day money-back guarantee. That's a big deal with us. I mean, we give 30 days to do anything. I mean, return it, change it, get a different color, get your money back.
When you pull into a store and it says Palm Casual, you know you're at a factory store.
This is Inside the Gamecocks, the morning show. Part of the Chief Sports Network.
Someday, lady, you'll accompany me where the rivers meet the sound and sea. Feel it in my soul, it's meant to be. Oh, someday, lady, you'll accompany me. Someday, lady, you'll accompany me. You will accompany me.
All right, 11:48. A couple of questions in the chat box we'll get to here in just a moment. Got another interesting, and I know you'll have some of this tomorrow in your drive around the SEC. PFF has their full 7 rounds out. Okay, it's not going to be exactly right, as we all well know. If anybody can predict every player in all 7 rounds of the NFL draft, they need to be doing something other than that. They can help the world. This, though, I haven't seen this, and this is why I think they're probably not going to be very right. They don't have Eamon Warry going until 45 in the second round of the Colts.
Yeah. For the people that don't have him in the first round, again, I know what the logic is because I know how these front office people think. They believe that it's almost like running back for them. You could be the most athletically gifted safety on the planet. They believe a high first round pick is reserved for a shutdown corner more than it is a safety. Now, they don't all believe that, and I don't think 32 teams are going to believe that. So I think Eamon is going to go in the first round. But I do believe that a lot of teams that if somehow he was a corner with those measurables, he'd be in the top 5. But he's not. He's a safety. And so some people just feel like you can get a good safety in the second, third round.
Yeah, I'm with the logic is there. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I think we all agree I just don't see any way he's there at 45.
I don't either. If he went in the top 20, it wouldn't surprise me.
100%. Yeah. Now, for what it's worth, they've got PFF has TJ Sanders going 47 to the Cardinals. And then later in the third round at 62, the Bills getting Demetrius Knight. So they got 3 second-round draft picks right now for South Carolina off of that defense. They've got Jackson Dart, by the way, going to the Dolphins at 71 via a couple of trades.
There is no way Jackson Dart lasts till 71.
There's no way.
There's no way. Are these where they grade them, or where they actually think they're going to be selected?
No, that's what I looked first. I thought because PFF, maybe it's just on their grades. No, this is their group of analysts, and this is where they've got them going. They got Kyle Kennard going 86 to the Chargers, which I could, 86 for Kennard could be.
That's pretty standard. Right. He's not going in the first.
So that's 4.
After that, it's a little bit of a crapshoot.
I mean, everybody agrees those 4 names will be called in the NFL draft. The next one they've got going is OD to Minnesota at 150. It'll be O'Donnell Fortune for those wondering. They got Juice, by the way, going at 165 to the Eagles. Juice to the Eagles? Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Tonka Hemingway at 168 to the Eagles. So that would be 6 names based on this, right? Isn't that right? 6. The next one for South Carolina is Rocket Sanders in the 7th round to the Giants. That would be 7, which would tie the program record. And that's all they got. They've got 7.
7.
Mm-hmm.
It's Rocket in the 7th round is just, again, more indicative of how, unless you are just freaky elite running back, again, like a Genty, we're going to take you whenever we find time. We're not spending a high pick on you. 20 years ago, Rocket Sanders might be a 2nd-round pick, but now, I'm with Queen. I think Simon gets drafted. I'd be surprised if there's not a market for him. Tight ends are very valuable now, and he's a guy that'd be valuable. Queen also asked for the Panthers at 8, Mason Graham or Jalen Walker. I love both of these players. But for what the Panthers want, I think it's Jalen Walker. I don't know how much longer Jadeveon Clowney has. I believe they run a 3-4, which Walker would fit in beautifully. Now, I think Mason Graham is freaky good and somebody who needs a defensive tackle, which is the strength of this draft in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. They're going to get a dude who's just going to be a perennial Pro Bowler. He's outstanding. But again, the more sexy position, the one that typically goes higher, is the guy that racks up sack totals and puts heat on the pressure. Puts pressure on the quarterback, and that's Jelon Walker.
They've got PFF, including Jelon Walker. They have 14, and we put the number. We talked to Raphael on Friday, and Thursday, whatever day it was, and I think he put the number for SEC guys in the first round at 14.5. I believe is what he said it was. They've got 14 going here. But they've got, I just don't see this either. Again, I'm not a draft expert.
I watched the kid play. I don't see Jelon Walker at 22 to the Lions.
That's where they have him? 22?
Yeah, 22, man.
All right, I have fundamental disagreements with just about every pick they have.
Yeah.
I don't see that.
Genty at 13 to the Dolphins.
That's possible.
What was the question? Graham. So they got Graham. They've got the Panthers taking Will Johnson, the corner out of Michigan, at 8. And Mason Graham, I'm sorry, going 5th to Jacksonville.
Well, no, that's not. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case.
Their top 4 are the same that everybody's got. Ward, Sanders, Hunter at 3, Carter at 4 to the Patriots.
The Jags might also want to invest in some offensive linemen because Trevor Lawrence is your guy, and he's getting beat up every year. If you're going to put stock in him to be a franchise quarterback, which you kind of have with that price tag, you better make sure you take good care of him.
Yeah, and he's married with a baby now. You know, he didn't want to be getting knocked around.
No.
You better take care of him. They got Will Campbell from LSU going to the Saints at 9.
Well, Will Campbell to me is one of the surest bets of this draft. So he's going to be top 10 to somebody, and whoever gets him, you can just go ahead and pen him in. Starting tackle, your franchise, next 10 years.
Yeah.
That's an easy one. It's a boring one. People, when their favorite team has got a top 10 pick, they're thinking of all these bells and whistles and fun toys and a tackle. But that's how you win games. You know, you got to have a line. Just take a look at the team that won the Super Bowl last year. They had the best line of scrimmage in the NFL.
100%.
Best one, and they've drafted that way, and the whole tush push thing that they do, that starts with their offensive line. It's not like Jalen Hurts is. I get it. Jalen Hurts squats like 10,000 pounds. He's not doing anything special. That offensive line gets push every time on that play.
Right.
You know, so whether sounds like they're going to outlaw the play in some respects, but they can still do quarterback sneaks. And they still dominate the line of scrimmage. And they dominated Kansas City in that Super Bowl on the line.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they had an entire team of SEC guys. That's why they won the Super Bowl.
It definitely didn't hurt. It definitely didn't hurt.
In our little corner of the world down here, Mike. They won the Super Bowl because they had a team full of SEC guys.
Of course they did. Of course. You know, you sprinkle in a Big 12 guy here and there, maybe an ACC guy here and there. But, yeah, it doesn't hurt to have some SEC talent.
Hey, Will Shipley, he's an ACC guy. He got in there. Well, their defense, I mean, you mentioned the offense, but they had best defense in the NFL. I mean, it's
very good, very talented, and it got better as the year went along. And, I mean, that combined with Pat Mahomes was not very good and made some critical errors. So it's not all on Philadelphia being good. Quite frankly, the guy who everybody was ready to crown the GOAT, and I love Pat Mahomes. I'm a Pat Mahomes fan, but he's not there yet. He got beat by Brady in one Super Bowl, and he had 2 critical mistakes. Sometimes it's all it takes, 2 critical mistakes, and you can lose a big game. At quarterbacks, it's not all about flash. You gotta play smart. The guy that made the biggest play of that game was DeJean, the back from Iowa, who was just a freaky athlete and got the pick 6. That was lights out at that point.
Yeah.
Gentlemen.
JC?
Hello. How's it going?
Just 7 Gamecocks in the 2025 PFF NFL mock draft. You buying it or are you going over?
Don't care about PFF.
Literally,
if it's good news, I'll read it and repeat it. But, I saw with my own eyes Nick Harbor block defensive backs into oblivion last year, and they graded him at 41% blocking. Sometimes I don't know what the hell they're watching, so don't care. Now, most of the mocks do line up with about 7-ish, 8-ish. 7's the record, so I don't know. I don't know what people are thinking with Rocket Sanders. I would imagine it's his injury. It's supposed to be this loaded year at running back, right? I don't know if too many freaky guys that are 230 pounds that can catch like receivers that are that fast. I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking with that, but it's probably the injury. But yeah, so it's going to be, they're going to cut it close to set the record, which I kind of thought was a given, but somebody's going to miss out probably on a good player or two, I would imagine.
The guys from NFL.com, just to show you how this is one of those really bizarre years, right? And Mike has made that point because of the lack of talent, the lack of depth in the quarterback room.
Yeah,
I mentioned Dart a little while ago being in the 3rd round per PFF. NFL.com's got him going 9th to the Saints.
There's talk the Saints could draft him. Talk.
Yeah.
Wonder if they've talked to Archie Manning about him.
I would imagine being an NFL front office, they probably talk to about everybody, including like his elementary school teachers and stuff, right?
Probably. I don't know, Mike. What do you think about Dart going top 10 overall?
I think it's a reach, and I like Dart, but top 10 is a reach.
Top 10.
Yeah,
I
I don't see that. I see 1st round. I don't see top 10. At that point, it reeks of desperation, and I think you'd be better off waiting till next year, when it's going to be a stronger and deeper quarterback class.
Yeah.
This is not a great quarterback class.
That's who I trust with the NFL draft, Mike Morgan.
Me too.
My
newsletter will be coming out. Kuiper and I will be putting that out.
But Mike knows it. You know, he makes good calls.
I've just, it's just something I used to be embarrassed to admit it, but I go back to when the Herschel Walker deal went down and Dallas got all those picks, and I started sitting there, and that's when I began watching every pick. So this goes back to the early 90s. And I find it fascinating. And as someone who loves college football, I love kind of forecasting. When I'm doing a game and I'm watching the players, I like thinking to myself, okay, where does he fit at the next level? What round is he going to be? So I think it's great. And the NFL has now made it a must-see TV event if you're a fan of the sport for a lot of people. I get it. A lot of people, it's like, this is boring. I don't try to convince people to watch it. It's not for everybody.
I thought about driving up to Green Bay. It's about 3.5 hours. I thought.
Oh, heck yeah. Heck yeah.
If we're going to make it or not. Maybe. Who knows?
Oh, I think it's going to be very neat in Green Bay. I've never been to Green Bay, but I know multiple people who have, and of course, guys who played there, like DeMarco, and they say it's the closest thing to like a college atmosphere.
It's awesome.
Small town.
It's awesome. I've gotten to call 2 games there. Last one, I ate at Brett Favre's restaurant the night before, which was like right across the street from the stadium. And you're right. Yeah, it's actually quite good. Yeah. It is totally a atmosphere. Everything about it, from the tailgating to small restaurants and bars nearby. It's anything but a metropolis. This could only work in the NFL with complete revenue sharing. No other sport would a Green Bay, Wisconsin have an NFL team.
No.
No. Absolutely not.
No.
Yeah, so who knows? I may take a
You'd have a blast. If you do go, I know you'll hit a bar or two. So I want to go. I don't know how much of the first hour you heard, JC. You were no stranger to 5 Points back in the day. The 5 Points bar that you love that no longer exists. Because I went down there and I didn't even recognize it. And from what I was told from one
you went to
owner,
5 Points.
Oh yeah.
Why?
Well, because I had a lot of great memories of 5 Points, JC.
Yeah.
Some of them I can tell, and some of them I can't. But no, I called one of the baseball games, and I needed to I'm still wired after a broadcast like that. I went down. I was like, I need food, so I got some pizza, and then I needed a couple cocktails, and I was searching. I just did a long walk. And I was like, what happened to... Oh, yeah, that shut down 3 years ago. What happened to... No, that's no longer there. And I went to... I'll just say one of the places I went, Jake's.
Yeah.
That's one of the places that is still there. And I spent many, many a night back in my days in the capital city. And they were telling me that this this attorney, I will not mention his name, he lives nearby, and he wants everything shut down. He's trying to make sure they lose their liquor licenses.
Yeah.
He wants to get rid of the bars there, and he wants to turn it, it'd be corporate. All of a sudden, the big money comes in, and they buy the buildings, and they turn it into banks or whatever the heck else. So 5 Points is like legendary. And now all the college kids are flocking to Main Street and the Vista. So it's the opposite of when I was there. But it's kind of sad to see all the great bars of yesteryear becoming extinct in 5 Points.
Mine would be, now there's many, like, so Dr. Rocco's was a place later that I hung out, and it's now CB90, so I can't miss Dr. Rocco's too much, but
yeah,
spilled a beer on my buddy's ex-wife, now ex-wife, he was a girlfriend at the time, at Dr. Rocco's, but I always had the frou-frou drinks, and all the chicks dug that Dr. Rocco's, right? The one that got me the most was actually while I was there. It was between 99 and 2000. I moved in. I lived at Place on the Green in 5 Points. My balcony out my back door looked into an alleyway and in the parking lot. And there was a bar called Ichabod's Oasis there, right? And they had this beautiful mural, like awesome mural, artsy, all that good stuff. And Delaney's bought it. Ichabod's went under. And they painted over the mural. And of course, then all kinds of graffiti and all kinds of crap it was just this totalitarian like ring. And I was always pissed that they took away my beautiful mural. But Ichabod's was fun. There are all kinds of places though. I mean, the knock room. Do y'all remember?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
Not club. And Jungle Gyms was, I didn't hang it. I never went. The one bar I never went to was Pavlov's, and it was right beside.
Never went to Pavlov's?
No. Salty.
Do you remember Nightworks?
Yes. the one on Divine Street.
Yeah,
it's still there.
Well, it's not called Nightworks anymore.
Nightcaps.
No, not Nightcaps.
Not Nightcaps. I don't remember Nightworks.
No, Nightworks was like a dance club upstairs. They called it Cheeseworks.
Jeez,
somebody out there will know.
It was good. Bar None. Obviously, I've a couple of times walked out of Bar None when the sun was coming up.
Yeah, I thought this topic would be right up your alley, JC.
Not these days. And if I go to Green Bay, I'm probably going to take myself. So I'm probably going to drive up and drive back, like, right, So I probably won't be having any of the frosty deliciousness. I just think I may want to go see it, right?
Yeah.
It's that close. Just go see it.
Bill says, my sister met her husband at Nightworks. How about that? A love connection at Nightworks.
There we are.
That's
nice.
fantastic.
Sweet.
Good.
Bill must be a Columbia guy because he also mentioned that attorney that I was referencing.
Bill is. He's all Columbia. So
yeah.
Good things do happen after midnight. You can meet the love of your life.
They can. I
don't know. Wise man.
Might have been a couple times I thought I met my future wife in 5 Points. Turned out to be
for a minute, yeah. Then you're like, I didn't mean to go big game hunting last night.
Like sometimes, it's kind of like an NIL deal. This is not a 4-year commitment. It's not a 4-year commitment.
Not a 4-year.
There might be somebody else in the portal.
You're gonna have to renegotiate to do this.
Got to renegotiate that deal. Got to pass it through the Deloitte law firm.
Portal window's about to reopen.
I needed that back in the day. I needed a clearinghouse for sure. Definitely needed a clearinghouse. But anyway, yeah, those were the good old days.
Anyway,
didn't expect
what you got?
5 point cut. We got basically two comments. We got Mongolian Mike. We're going to talk about the basketball recruit. I like that nickname because I can pronounce it. Mongolian Mike. That is his nickname.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And then I saw the tidbit about the Harlem Globetrotter deal. That was probably pretty good. And in basketball in general, and also football spring game, I didn't get a chance to go. Phil went though. I got a lot of stuff from other folks. And then I did get video of every play of the first half that I reviewed. So I can't put that out, obviously, but I did see enough. Have 13 of the top players based on a lot of different things up on the Big Spur right now. So there's an article everyone can go read, but going to definitely dive into that and talk a little as we spin forward into the summer months, what the football team needs to do, portal, really talk about this basketball portal stuff. And really that's the two focus things along with the draft this weekend. And we'll always take questions from the Nana Sports chat box. And when we do that, we never know where it's going to lead.
That's a good point.
Amen.
Well said.
Look forward
All
to
right.
it, Jen.
We'll let you gentlemen get to work.
All right.
Good.
Peace be with you.
Thank you, sir.
And also
We'll see you tomorrow.
I should not have screamed in terror that fine day. Saw that purple wig and did not know what to say. It left me sort of startled and confused. Red lips and white makeup and those big old red shoes. But my daddy tore a knot in me for being so damn rude. He said, son, don't you know that clowns are people too? Clowns are people too. Big red shoes. Clowns are people too. Don't be rude. If you weren't a bit lucky, then this could easily be you. I met your mom when she was up on that old trapeze. What can I say but hey, I had a thing for circus freaks. I started watching Bozo and warmed to the movie It. Killer Clowns from Outer Space to me was a big hit. Some people like McDonald's because of Mayor McCheese. But Ronald is my homeboy now, and Krusty and Pinky. Clowns are people too. Big red shoes. Clowns are people too. Don't be rude. If you weren't a bit lucky, then this could easily be you. I met your mom when she was up on that old trapeze. What can I say but hey, I had a thing for circus freaks. Clowns are people too. Clowns are people too. Now I own some tiny horns and got me those red shoes. I don't know much, but know one thing that's true. If you don't know anything, just know that clowns are people too.
Welcome to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, part of the Chief Sports Network.
Mad Dog's upstate raised and reared up near the tater patch. He flirted with that upstate team, now bleeds garnet and black. It's been almost 2 decades since JC started Big Spur. He may live outside of Chicago, but he's all Spartanburg. It's the show, the Gamecocks Show. ITG, Phil and JC, it's the show. It's fun and entertainment, but also information, things you cannot get on radio. It's the show. Gather around all you Gamecocks, it's the show. The show, the show. Let's go. JC and Mad Dog Mully on the Gamecock Show.
Welcome in, everybody. It is Inside the Gamecocks The Show. Here we are, kicking off the week on a Monday. Phil, Mad Dog Mullinax over here, JC Sherbert over there. I was in attendance for the spring game last week. JC, at least for a while there. You can't
I felt there would
draw.
be an early departure for the Mullinax family.
Yeah. Well, originally the plan was the girls were going to do their thing. And then I would just go, and then I probably would have stayed if it were just me. But with everybody in tow, we kind of cut it off a little early. But fun to be.
I've done the same before if I've had little ones with me, right?
Yeah, but fun to be in the stadium again. Everybody loves that. Do kind of agree with some of the things that JB was saying. I figured there'd be a bit more to do prior to the game than there were in Gamecock Park. Don't get me wrong, free parking is nice, but I figured there'd be a bit more. Although it was a nice, vibe, tailgate feel,
There was last year. I sat there and watched Jamie's kids play on the bouncy house, and but it was on a Saturday, so maybe that's kind of the thought that people would be getting off work, and
that might have been it. I'm not sure, but either way, it was a decent time. Relative to expectations, of course, it's not like you're getting the full game atmosphere for for what we saw there in exhibition, but my biggest takeaway is everybody looks the part. Some of these guys, your team looks like an SEC football team when they walk onto the field. That's step one. You can't make, I wouldn't even say much. I don't think you can make anything out of personnel groupings, potential 1-2s. There's just not much to see, and specifically designed that way. You could tell, at least from my observation, that we're protecting scheme, we're protecting groupings, we're protecting a lot of things here, and then there were still guys that we expect to see on the field in the fall that weren't even dressed for because they had a hangnail, right? Which is the right way to handle that.
That's how you gotta rock it. It's one of those things. I think there's some spring games where like when Spurrier was here. And there's a lot of stuff that, I think the fan base is still kind of getting used to. Hell, I think Florida's still getting used to it even now. He left Florida in 2001, 24 years ago. Spurrier was just so unique in how he did things. He didn't care about people seeing his spring game and. He's just like, well, we just won't shift as much, but we're gonna still call our plays and run our offense. Good luck stopping it. And they would have an actual game, and they ran it that way, and it was fun. And I think with all the talk about spring games across the country, Phil, and the trend line is it's just like anything else, that once a couple do it, then all of a sudden it becomes common, especially. I think, unfortunately, the media that covers the sport that I believe hates the sport or hates a lot of the quirkiness about the sport, they don't want people to have spring games. They don't no spring game. It just makes no sense, blah, 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 blah. And so they're going to start, putting Matt Rule up on a pedestal and this is the way to go and blah, blah, blah. And so I think we're actually going to get scrimmages against other teams. I think the chances of those being open to the public are unlikely.
Right.
And I don't even know from a football standpoint what the best way to do it would be. I like the combined practices idea. Because that way it's still just practice. You're kind of scrimmaging at practice like the NFL does combined practices against another team. You're not really keeping score. Carolina goes out there and plays somebody else Friday night and wins 10-7. There's going to be mass panic.
Oh Lord, yeah.
It's going to be awful. I think there's some things that like I put up the 13 players that shine. There are some players individually that look good, and you can tell. It's just like watching them practice or scrimmage. If you'd gone to a scrimmage, what you don't know necessarily is how they're going to match up against the players Virginia Tech has, or the players, Vanderbilt has, or Kentucky or South Carolina State. You don't know what they look against someone who's actively, trying to beat the tar out of them.
Right.
And that's important because your teammates are still going to take it easy on you, right? Although I think if they would have let Dylan Stewart tackle Lenora Sellers the other night, that would have been pretty interesting. Of course.
He had.
They couldn't block him.
At least a couple opportunities there to do so.
Yeah,
It's
could Lenoris get out of it? That would be my question too, because a lot of those where they tagged him, Phil, I don't know that he gets tackled in that situation. I mean, I think he gets out.
Yeah, and I was looking at some of the replays and a couple of little videos I took, and from what I could see, because when it first kicked off, we were right there on that end, so we got to kind of see a little bit from behind. But I'm with you, JC. Look here. The biggest takeaway is Lenora Sellers is still Lenora Sellers and has all of that athleticism and ability that we saw last year. He rolled right on into that. Might be a little bigger than he was, just more, physically developed. But yeah, I'm with you. Like, Stewart was virtually unblockable, but at the same time, you've got the ultimate counter to that in 16.
Yeah. I mean, that guy, and look, it was telling. Sometimes you can tell a little bit about player progress with the awards they give away for the spring. And Sellers was the offensive MVP, and Dylan Stewart was defensive MVP.
Right.
It makes total sense. But they also, what that also means, Phil, I think no duh, JC. It's a no-brainer. But I also think what that says, coaches, they give those awards away. If Lenoris or Dylan had not done what they were supposed to do, or maybe they took a step back, they would go out of their way not to give it to them because of the motivation factor. But they definitely gave. I mean, that was pretty easy, and they looked good. Both looked good in the spring. I mean, you expect Dylan Stewart at all times to be a guy that people have trouble blocking. I don't care what offensive lineman's out there. I mean, it was good, but I think the one thing I will say definitively about this is good, bad, indifferent, ugly, kiss my butt, whatever the answer is about the offensive line, we don't know based on just the spring game. Now you get intel from scrimmage reports. I know that they had some injuries there. Case and Henry hasn't played. You got, the first scrimmage, you got 4 new starters out there. It's going to be a little ugly again to try to block Gabe Brownlow Dindy and Dylan Stewart, Markel Goodwine. That's good because that's not easy. But the first series, Lenoris is quarterbacking and it's his team. But you got Chase Swigert out there, who's a good walk-on offensive lineman. There's nothing against him, man. And I was glad he got the opportunity, but you had a couple of walk-ons sprinkled in on the O-line. That's not a recipe for him having a clean pocket.
Right.
Brad Crawford pointed that out too. He said something about the clean pocket. And then he and I went back and forth on Twitter, and I just said, hey, context here. These are, you don't have your top guys out there. It's not, and that's the one drawback, I guess, from a fan's perspective, looking at it, if you want to see the improvement on the O-line, well, the only way you're really going to get a gauge is if it's ones versus ones,
right?
Or at least ones versus twos, where all 5 of the quote unquote top guys, and they absolutely were not going to do that. Because part of this program is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be like a fun deal. And that's fun for the players. It's kind of almost, the spring game's almost kind of become like a reward.
Yeah.
Just go out there and have fun, see how you react in front of a crowd. And the coaching staff gets a whole lot of individual film. Like they're out there, this guy, like number whatever corner, that's here, Miles Norwood or something like that. New player, they got film from Ball State. How does he react going against our guys? And they do that with practice film as well. But in a simulated game, it's kind of with a crowd, it's kind of different. Now, I do think the crowd for some of these younger guys caused a lot of mistakes. Not that they were making noise or anything, but I think that the moment there, maybe caused a little bit, some nerves. First time out there, and what Beamer said after the game was he hopes that they kind of get the kinks out. Maybe they got it out of their system. He said it hadn't been happening in practice. Well, Mercedes-Benz Stadium is going to be at least 40% full of Hokies that first weekend. They travel, and I don't know, coming off a 6-7 season, they don't like Brent Pry, also players in the portal. I don't know if that takes a bite out of that, but they're playing Shane Beamer's team.
Right.
And I think they will show up for that. They are a great fan base. I mean, they're really cool people. Really like a lot of Hokies, and they travel, and I'd be surprised if they didn't have, like I said, 40% of the crowd. So, and they're not like North Carolina fans either that sit on their hands.
No, right. Yeah. This is
like in Charlotte.
This is a real good, solid fan base here coming in.
Yeah. I mean,
facing with Virginia Tech.
It's going to be loud. I mean, you're going to face some adversity, but South Carolina this year is, I think they've still got talent. I mean, I'm with you, Phil. I looked and I was like, well, it looks like a pretty talented football team. And a lot of people agreed with me on that. The issue is last year's team was older-ish. I think they had more, I guess, seniors than any other Power 4 team. A lot of guys that had played a lot of ball through the pandemic and on up through 2024 and that are in their early 20s. Right. Now you have a lot of teenagers and a lot of younger guys. I mean, like Fred Johnson. I think Fred Johnson can be an elite player, but is it his time yet as a redshirt freshman? I mean, I think so. I don't know so, Debo Williams was a more comfortable choice because we had seen him play every year, get better every year. He was coming off an all SEC season. Demetrius Knight Jr. last year was not a player we knew a lot about. Right.
Yeah.
And he ended up being fine. Could that be Uncle Runkle or Sean Murphy? On the D line interior, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, TJ Sanders is the one that's really hard to replace. Not that Tonka's not. But Tonka's like kind of a different type of dude, right? He's kind of more that I don't want to say finesse, but more of a quick pass rushing guy who's
more like athletically versatile, if you will.
That kind of guy. And I think they could replace the rest of them. I mean, it's just one of those things. But and Goodwine and Brownlow Dindy are older, but Xavion Hardy's his first year in college. Nick Barrett's older. But, you got younger guys. So this is going to be a younger football team overall. The receiving core especially is going to be littered with young players. Now, those guys, I see what Beamer means when he says they almost just don't care. Those young receivers, it's almost like they don't even realize they're freshmen. It's like the sixth sense.
Right.
I see young receivers walking around. They don't know they're freshmen.
They don't know they're freshmen.
They don't. I mean, Malik Clark jumps up and catches a touchdown on a not so great thrown ball and gets the body control to get in the end zone. I think Brian Rowe looks as advertised.
I think so too. He looks explosive, fast. I mean, this really, you could tell. I mean, and there's certain individual things about players that you can tell from a spring game setting.
Yeah.
Like you can't hide the fact that Gabriel Brownlow Dindy is a large athletic man, right? I mean, you just cannot. So if he's putting it together, scheme fit wise and things like that for this defense, then that's a hell of a pickup. Same for Goodwine. I think, he showed some things over the weekend that kind of surprised me. It makes you feel better. What I did take away is, and a lot that we've made JC of, it's like, well, all good teams lose a lot of good talent every year. It's about whether or not you can replace it and put it back together. I feel good that South Carolina is in a position to be able to continue to compete, right? Defensively, especially. You're not going to take a huge step back as predicted nationally. If I were to go out on a limb and say the defense isn't going to be near as bad as everyone kind of hints that it could be because of the loss of talent year over year, that I could definitely say with confidence.
and I understand some skepticism. I mean, you kind of look at the numbers, and it's all, we've mentioned it being historic. I mean, they could still have a historic draft. I hope they do. It may just be 7 and they tie a record, but I still think somebody's going to miss out on a good player if they do that.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of talent, and it's not just the guys that are going to get drafted either. It's the depth pieces, the nice depth pieces you had. It's your leading rusher, your leading receiver on offense, your entire interior offensive line, and then defense. You don't really have, you're losing big time players at all 3 levels. One starter on the front, in the whole front 7, Phil.
Right.
Dylan Stewart. That's it. The whole front 7, starting front 7.
Yeah. New faces.
That's just not, that's normally something that with at a program like South Carolina that would torpedo it.
Mm-hmm.
But, there's a transfer portal, and there's good recruiting that's taking place around here. And, sometimes it's not all about going and getting a portal guy. And Carolina's not going to get Bo Atkinson from North Carolina. He's probably going to Ohio State or Georgia. But that would have been great. I think everybody could have been excited about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I also, don't know that that one guy was going to, they had to have him or the whole season's going to fall apart. I think that we're still all trying to find the sweet spot with how to gauge what you do in the portal on an annual basis. And the portal gets so much attention that sometimes it's hard to forget. Oh yeah, there's that guy they recruited a couple of years ago and he's ready to start and rock and roll now.
Yeah, right.
It's almost unfair to the returning players because everybody loves free agency and the shiny new thing.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and when you look at the depth chart, though, it's littered with those like red shirt this, red shirt, red shirt freshman, red shirt sophomore. So it's like these guys have been there, right? They've been working towards this.
Yeah. The large amount of true freshmen will come at receiver, and then call me crazy. I think Shed Surratt may end up seeing some time on the O-line this year.
Yeah.
That guy's looking better than expected, but the rest of the spots, maybe if you get into the depth a little bit at linebacker, you play some true freshmen, but anyway, I think it looks good. Also, what also looks good is accessories from Palmetto Golf and Belts, palmettogolfing.com, freaky fast delivery. Check out my friend Brand at Palmetto Golf and Belts, palmettogolfing.com, because it's golf season. Masters and Heritage are over, so it's April. It's time to go play some golf and to look your best doing it. Support Gamecock owned and operated businesses. Also, our proud sponsor here at the show. We'll be back after these messages. The second half of the second hour on the show.
The Aventon Adventure 2 takes the same basic design as the original Aventon Adventure, making it an adventure bike designed to take you places that typical roads just don't reach, allowing you to ride whatever terrain you want based on your whims of the day. Look at what you're getting. Hydraulic disc brakes, torque sensor for responsive pedal assist, great LED lighting, suspension, a beautifully welded frame with excellent build quality, included rear rack, included fenders. The list just keeps going on.
Visit electricbikescharleston.com for more.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
Hey
Hey Gamecock Nation, my name is Kyle, longtime listener of the show and avid golfer. I wanted to take my game to the next level, but let's face it, golf is a hard game to learn on your own. I heard the ad from McKellar Enterprises and reached out to the owner and former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor. In just 2 months of working with Meredith, I shot my lowest round ever, and I've never felt more confident in my golf game. So if you're looking to take your game to the next level, go to McKellarEnterprises.org and book your lessons today with former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor. Go Gamecocks.
The season rolls on at Love Chevrolet, where the inventory is overflowing and the deals are in full bloom. Rev up your spring with Love's exclusive specials on Suburbans, Tahoes, Silverados, the entire lineup of award-winning Chevys on the lot now and ready to go. Spring-tacular savings at Love Chevrolet. We're talking the best selection of new Chevys, the lowest price, guaranteed. In fact, they'll beat any competitor's price or give you $1,000. The other dealers upsell, overcharge, and will say most anything to get the sale. At Love Chevrolet, satisfied customers do all the talking, and they say things like helpful, honest, and fun. Your trusted hometown Chevy dealer since 1961, Love Chevrolet. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
That's the power of love. Love Chevy.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Inside the Gamecocks The Show here, middle of the first hour, talking a little spring football action. Some of the takeaways, JC, spring-wise, I did kind of get to gloss over your baker's dozen players. Yeah. I think it's funny, though, that that one clip of Cutter Woods completing the long pass to Vandravius Jacobs is like kind of caught fire, right? And now, one thing I will say is that some teams are going to have a problem with Vandravius, right? Like, and we saw flashes of it last year outside of the fact that he got injured, a little dinged up in the season. But if he stays healthy, as well as, like, I kind of liked what I saw out of Jordan Dingle too. So it's like you utilize him in the passing game, you know, Vandravius Jacobs, Nick Harbor, not necessarily showcased in the game, right? You know, it's just, which is fine because he's continuing to further his development. But, you know, with the talent that they've got in the wide receiver room coming in at freshman, accompanied with what I think is going to be a step forward for some of these returning guys out on the perimeter, could make for some really fun football games.
Yeah, and I think that's, you know, when there's some schools of thought that you have to have a wide receiver one or a WR1 or whatever. I think that's a fantasy football desire more so than an actual football desire. I think it's good to have, you know, multiple top receivers if you can have it. Now, I'll say that, you know, I said this on coffee this morning. They did not have that last year, namely because it was like a revolving door.
Yeah.
Because everybody kept getting hurt at different times and you kind of plug and play, and Josh Simon was the primary target anyway. And that happens sometimes, but you know, I think this year, you know, you have a shot, you know, because to me, Jacobs, like, as far as the feedback you got from the first scrimmages and spring in general, the word on him always, Phil, was he's improved. We like him. But there was a lot more talk about Jared Brown, Mazio Bennett, and Nick Harbor. Nick Harbor was the most improved award winner. So
Yeah, and Jared Brown, we know, is an exciting player. Same with Mazio. Like, it would not surprise me if any of those guys emerged as the top target this year. The problem is that you've got 4 guys right there that we're looking at and talking to, and 5 if you include Dingle, that are going to be competing for, snaps.
Yeah, and
opportunity.
tight end, you still got
Right.
you still got Brady Hunt and and Michael Smith, and then you got Donovan Murph coming in too, and they're absolutely planning on him playing.
Right.
Because he's probably more physically ready to go than just about all of them. So it's a good problem to have. How these guys gonna get the balls, and there'll be a lot of different things. But I thought looking at it, Brian Rowe to me and Jacobs looked like ballers, like they went out there to ball. And then Malik had the big catch. But, with Jacobs, you heard that feedback, and you're always kind of in your mind going, well, out of the 4, he's probably a little lower, like at 4th. But I've always been high on him. He was a recruit that Florida State really wanted. They thought he had a bright future down there. He just left. He's the Palm Beach County Player of the Year. Yeah, Carolina doesn't have very many guys from Florida. And it's a shame because I love Florida players. I think Florida talent, Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach, those guys love the ball, right? They're all fast and tough, and and I thought he showed some of that moxie. He looked like a more confident football player to me.
Right.
Just the confidence was just there. And when guys that can run and catch and jump are more confident, then they run and catch and jump more naturally and faster. They move faster. Last year, Jacobs kind of became the slant guy. He'd run the slant, and I was like happy they were running a slant. But he'd catch it and he'd be covered or fall down. There's very little separation anyway, even when he had open. Now it looks like he's ready to take it, turn up field, get going. And then the long pass, I'm still convinced it's the same pass. The same play Delvon Campbell caught in the bowl game. I think that's a pretty good play. But he split 2 defenders, ran right by him. And, of course, just like Delvon Campbell, fell down. And
there was a lot of that. It wasn't just the receivers, because I was watching the linebackers as well. There were a couple of times where they were slipping on the surface. I don't know if there was something with the field, or maybe because it was warm and it hadn't been. Who knows? But, yeah, there's a couple of slick shoes out there.
Yeah, I know. All right, the Nana's Porch chat box has some activity. The Queen of the Cocks chimes in from the Show Me State. I rewatched the Texas A&M game last night. Can I see how totally underestimated Josiah Thompson's pulling ability? Him and Mazio were flying on that first quarter touchdown run for a touchdown. He looked like Keto Trent Williams. Yeah, that's why they love Josiah Thompson. He didn't play on Friday that much.
No,
they held him out. So, well, good. I mean, yeah, when your 2 starting tackles are out, and you're putting walk-ons on, that tells you even more that we don't know about the offensive line. Yeah, Josiah athletically is outstanding. Needs to stay healthy, and he did for the most part last year. Needs to keep working on getting stronger in technique, and pass blocking is something he could do very naturally. But obviously, when you start a true freshman at left tackle in the SEC, you're going to live with a certain amount of, times he gets beat.
Yeah.
And frankly, they did. This year, you're not going to be able to live with it as much. So that's the key for him there, is in games, don't give up as many sacks, dude.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
Hold the line.
Pretty simple. So the Queen of the Cock says we got to get a go route where the wide receiver stays on its feet. Yeah, it's almost like it's called that way.
I know.
But beautiful pass for
yards.
Cutter Woods.
Cutter did. He put it right where he needed to be.
I thought Cutter made some other really good plays too. I thought he battled his butt off. And Hale keeps mentioning that the guy could end up being the number 2 quarterback on this team. I could see it. But I don't want to. I don't want to base this on the spring game. You know,
No, right? Yeah, that's like you
Aaron
cannot
Nolan,
draw conclusions about what we saw.
That actually was something Hale has heard for a while. I thought Aaron Nolan, of all the most unfair part of the spring game was that Aaron Nolan had no time, none.
There was very little Aaron Nolan
time
action.
He was didn't get to see what he could. Didn't see anything. You know?
Well, and quarterback wise, at least if you're looking at snap counts, it looked like the Luke Doty show, right? Which
Doty played a bunch.
I wasn't surprised by, just protecting other guys, not getting a lot of tape out, because obviously, even though this is not being broadcast, there's thousands of people in there with their phones out. So
yeah, there are plenty of highlights.
Yeah, oh yeah,
plenty of tape from the spring game. But yeah, dude, I thought that was something that was a little unfortunate, because I really thought when they got Air, I was like, well, in the spring game, he's going to throw it pretty good, because he's a good passer. Just did not have time, dude. I mean, and that happened. The coaches aren't going to hold that against him, right?
No. Especially when you got that makeshift O-line that he was behind and all that,
Yeah, I mean, it's like, and I heard he's had some impressive moments throwing the ball. Now I'll go back though. Is Cutter Woods a surprise? Is Cutter Woods got a high floor? Would they be comfortable if they had to go to Cutter Woods in a game this year? Yes, more so than they did when he came in. But it doesn't surprise me because of how well he was coached. And I was talking to Matt Anderson on Saturday morning. He called and was coming back from the spring game, and we chatted a little bit. And I put this in my article. I hesitated to do it because I don't, player comparisons. It's a double-edged sword for me. I don't like doing them because every player is different. I do them more now because fans attach to that more. And fans love player comparisons. We have player comparisons all over the 24/7 Sports database, and I don't think many people go back and actually look at them after the guys have gotten to college. I bet there's some that are like spot on, like Nostradamus level good.
Right.
And then I bet there's some that are just god awful,
off base, like completely, right?
Who Cutter Woods reminds me of a lot is Colt McCoy.
Oh, yeah.
Who played at Texas. He's that kind of dude. And if we all remember, Vince Young was a senior in 2005. Colt was a freshman, true freshman, redshirted. I think was the backup. And then the next year, Colt McCoy took over as the starter.
Right.
And by 2009, they came back to the national championship game at Texas. Colt McCoy was a hell of a college quarterback and actually did get drafted and stuff like that. But that's kind of because I've said before, Lenore Sellers is kind of a Vince Young to me. I mean, a lot of people say Cam Newton. I think he also could be a Vince Young. Vince's fundamentals throwing the ball, you will never mistaken those for, kind of the sidearm weirdness that just somehow got there.
Yeah, right.
I think Lenoris has a better arm than Vince, and he's a little bit quicker. Vince kind of, in the run game, he glided for a big guy. Lenoris is more like Vickish quick, I guess, like like Jackson or Vic at that size. But yeah, hey, if you give me the Vince Young to Colt McCoy handoff at South Carolina, I'm a happy man.
For sure. I fell down a Steve McNair hole there for a little bit yesterday. Just
McNair hole.
Yeah, I guess I could see some similarities here between him and Mr. Sellers.
Air McNair, man.
Take that.
So but you don't have it. So Air is actually your backup, one of your backups. Not Air
right, not Air McNair.
So, anyway, Matt says exactly, Queen. When you beat the secondary that much, it should be a touchdown. Yeah, I don't know what the falling down thing is. It didn't seem like. I just don't know. I don't know why they fell down. Maybe I don't know. Yeah. Brandon chimes in off of X. He says, "What about the running back room? Who do we think stood out?" I think of all of them, Matthew Fuller probably caught my eye the most. I thought he ran very physical, and it's interesting because he had, like, I was told first scrimmage, Matt Fuller was probably 4th out of 4.
Oh,
right. Behind Faison Attaway and the other guy. And, by the second scrimmage, Matt Fuller flashed, and he flashed to me in the spring game. I think he's got a lot of upside. Running back's going to be very interesting, Phil. I thought Faison was as advertised. Again, these guys didn't have much room to run.
No.
Because of the O-line situation. I thought Jordan Howell was really, just like he always is, really solid and good, and had some good moments. They just didn't, they didn't have a whole lot of room to run. And heck, if Rocket Sanders was out there, I don't think he'd have got, as far as yardage, gotten any more done. I think it's going to be interesting to see who comes out of that competition, though, because I don't know that it's necessarily the plan to play 4. You've got to be like the only team I've ever seen successfully do that. So 2017, Bama did it to a certain extent because Najee Harris was the 4th team running back.
Yeah, right.
And all of a sudden he's in the national championship game and starts just running for yards after yards after yards. That's crazy because Tua came in that game too. That was an interesting move by Nick Saban, but it paid off. So that's that there. Then Georgia in 2022. No, 2021. No, 2022. 2022 Georgia. They had 4 backs. They were all kind of the same guy. And no, 2021 Georgia. First national championship when they beat Alabama. And Todd Monken was masterful using those guys because they all had different strengths and weaknesses, and he'd rotate them in, but you never really knew what was coming. Part of that was because of his scheme and kind of the way they worked vertically. Horizontally. I thought Todd Monken was in some kind of zone calling plays. I really did. But that's the only time I've ever seen it work. I'm like, man, they're playing 4 running backs, and a defense cannot get a beat on who's doing what, because normally that's the tell. You got one guy that's a good outside runner, one guy that's a good inside runner. You piece it together like that. And they did have guys that were good at different things, but he kept everybody off balance so much with his play calling and with how they worked the horizontal aspect of the game that nobody could touch it. It was that was a very solid coaching decision there. I don't think South Carolina's going to do that. I don't think they're going to play 4. I just don't see it with this group. So somebody's not going to get a lot of carries. And I think that the answer to that question now with Matt Fuller coming on at the end is going to be very interesting. I think it's going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Bruin says there's sand on the field. Yeah, Tennessee probably could say a little about that. Latte Lance, what's up, killers? Sunshine. And how about my boy Love? Yeah, Mason Love.
Yeah.
Before I put this to bed, so I don't I'm freaking out about it. August 21st, right? That's my target date. Start freaking out about special teams. I know it's not ideal for one guy to do everything, but Mason Love may just be your best kicker this year.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard, I didn't see the video of it, but during the kick contest, I heard that he hit one that probably would have been good from 60. I mean, that was what and his punting average was still really, really good.
Yeah. That kid's got a leg. I mean, you can tell. That's nice. So I don't know if they want the punter and place kicker to be the same guy. And if you do that, maybe you give kickoff duty to somebody else. That way they can just focus on one single thing. But he definitely, even in the pressure moment, right, made the field goal and looked to be about the best one out there.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. So we'll see what happens if they get a portal kicker or not. But certainly thought he was a star. I should have written about him today, and I didn't. He's going on the breakout list pretty soon.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Lance, how about your boy Love? And then Bruin says he watched Cutter Woods make the deep throw about 9 times on target in the state championship game. All he needs is a receiver to go long and get open. Yep. And Bruin also said earlier, no excuses not to have 3 guys on the field who can break away and catch the deep ball. I don't know. Not a lot of teams have 3. If the O-line will block long enough, we can have a serious deep threat this year. Yeah, I mean, Lenoris can throw the deep balls.
Oh, yeah.
And that's one way if teams are creeping up, trying to stop your run and putting guys in the box against Sellers. And if you have guys that can get open deep and beat defensive backs one-on-one and split coverage like Jacobs did, then, I mean, you just throw it over their head. We can't stop it.
Can't stop that.
Right. You know, so man, I think it's that's something. So
and they're speedy, so it's not like you're going to run a lot of them down.
I mean,
they're already that far.
The biggest guy out there, Nick Harbor's speedy,
the fastest one of all.
So you got speed. I mean, let's go downtown, man. And I hope that the offensive line is better suited, because the reason you don't throw it deep a lot, the reason they didn't do it last year, they don't have the time. I mean,
Right.
You don't. I mean, you drop back. I mean, those deep plays take a little while to develop, you know, and you drop back and you know, 1 Mississippi, you don't even get to 2 Mississippi, and he's got to scramble. Then it's scramble drill. It's not
right. Yeah.
You know, your play's shot. So I get why they didn't really run a lot of developing deep plays, but you know, if you could do it this year, more power to you. And I thought Cutter did a really good job with that. So anyway, so that's the deal there. I do think it was a good spring game. I think there's a lot of good football players on this team, Phil. It's not a situation where I think you can make a lot of predictions based on the spring game, but sort of the baseline, what we thought we knew about this group is intact. I mean, the linebackers alone are like, good Lord, all these guys are big and can run. I mean, you know, I just like, I think they've recruited really well. I don't know what that'll turn into wins and losses wise. And the reason primarily is because everybody else has players too.
Right.
You know, good ones. I mean, especially on the schedule, but I do think Carolina's in a good spot. I just, you know, the first 5 games, everybody says they are, you know, they're winnable, and they are. They're not. There's not one you look at and go, well, just play your best.
Yeah.
You know,
that's right.
There's not one you look at and go that. You know, Carolina could win all of them. Missouri is going to be the toughest one on the road, I'm pretty sure. But I mean, who knows? Kentucky keeps turning their roster over and keeps getting players. So who knows?
Who knows?
But you know, that Kentucky's at home, Vandy's at home, Virginia Tech's on a neutral field, Missouri's on the road. That's the difference there. But yeah, I think all is good. So that's the spring game. Nana's Porch chat box. More questions. I will have more answers for you after this. Also, welcome to Carolina basketball, Mongolian Mike. Interesting pickup. Very, very, very interesting pickup.
Speaking of player comps, Mike dropped one that we're going to have to discuss.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get into all that. We'll get into the player comps after this. Also, want to remind you, if you're in North Carolina, South Carolina, or Georgia, and you have car insurance, like I think most of those states have a law that you do, you can help out a great Gamecock by patronizing his very fine State Farm business, Tony Pope. Go to tonypope.com. Proud sponsor of Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Also sponsors lots of Carolina baseball initiatives at the University of South Carolina. NIL, he just does it all, man. He's a big Gamecock and a big supporter and a great person, and has a wonderful agency with kind people that will treat you right. And again, you can have a little piece of home with having your insurance with Tony Pope. If you're in the Tar Heel State or the Peach State, or throughout South Carolina. It's TonyPope.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and Tony Pope is always there for his clients. We'll be back after this on the show. Final hour coming up.
Hey, this is Cornbread Cowboy, and you're listening to the show. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Dry Space Crawl Space Solutions. Basement crawl space encapsulation designed for your specific needs. Your crawl space can be susceptible to all sorts of issues, including moisture buildup, mold growth, and structural damage if not cared for properly. Let our trained experts provide basement crawl space encapsulation solutions to protect your home, improve air quality, and enhance energy efficiency. Schedule your consultation today for a safer, healthier space at dryspacecs.com. Dry Space Crawl Space Solutions, proud supporters of your South Carolina Gamecocks.
The Aventon Adventure 2 takes the same basic design as the original Aventon Adventure, making it an adventure bike designed to take you places that typical roads just don't reach, allowing you to ride whatever terrain you want based on your whims of the day. Look at what you're getting. Hydraulic disc brakes, torque sensor for responsive pedal assist, great LED lighting, suspension, a beautifully welded frame with excellent build quality, included rear rack, included fenders. The list just keeps going on.
Visit electricbikescharleston.com for more. Welcome to Palm Casual Patio Furniture. Because we are the factory, Palm Casual has the ability to offer the highest quality outdoor furniture paired with world-class service. Since 1979, our factory showrooms have done our best to make the buying process as easy as possible for our customers. Our understanding of the many factors that go into your decision has helped us create our 30-day trial period that increases the level of comfort our customers feel during the shopping experience. Visit us in Somerville, Mount Pleasant, Myrtle Beach, and Bluffton, and online at palmcasual.com for our products and out-of-state locations. Go Gamecocks! Welcome home. That's what the Gamecocks say, and so does nationally recognized the Barndominium Company, where they are building dream homes in the Carolinas, Georgia, and Tennessee. Their turnkey process can be custom designed and takes 6 months on average. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com, thebarndominiumco.com.
Welcome back, everybody, inside the Gamecocks The Show here. Second hour of the show here for a Monday. Quick shout out, though, to Kenny from the chat box. I got to meet Kenny at Williams-Brice on Friday. That was cool. Always fun running into audience members, especially ones that are in the chat box. So good to see you, Kenny. Nice to meet you, man.
Always good to run into folks out there.
Yeah, man. I love
in the world, right? So glad everybody had a good time this week. I certainly missed being there. Really kind of stuck a knife in me a little bit. And look, I know I didn't miss many things. I mean, you know, it's not the most exciting football event there is, but I still enjoy being there. And it just stunk. Everybody was in town, including Mike Morgan. So me.
Right, I know.
So I guess that just happens. All right. So Mongolian Mike.
Welcome in.
6'9", 190 guard. He's a little well-traveled. Dayton, Utah. I think this is school number
4.
I think it is 4.
Yeah.
Mike Sharva Jams. Sharv Jams.
I think that's what JB says. Sharva Jams, because
from Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia.
That's the capital.
It is the
It
capital.
might be the only city in Mongolia.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are others. Don't get upset with me, Mongolians.
Yeah, Mongolians. Do you remember in South Park? where
Yes,
the
it's all
guy
I can
from
think about. It's all I can think
City
about.
Walk was building the whole wall to keep the Mongolians out? I was like,
Down and tear down my city wall.
oh my Lord.
Yeah, ever since we started talking about Mike, that's all I could think about. So,
wow. It's a
doing
great
my
South
best
Park.
not to. I know it really is a good episode.
It is a good episode. So he went to Dayton initially and played for Anthony Grant, and then San Francisco, where he started, and then Utah this past year. Between 22 and 25 minutes a game. The shooting percent. Okay, so here's the thing about him. This is just what I've learned. The shooting percentages and stuff are not going to wow you.
Yeah.
But like the advanced metrics on him are really good. Like we have a guy on our board, U-Haul is his username. And he loves basketball metrics. Like that's his whole thing. And he's always a little hard on players Carolina brings in if they don't have good metrics, right? You know? But he likes this guy. So there's that. I don't know. I'd talk to Matt Anderson for a little more about that. But and his point was that, you know, the metrics that are good on Mongolian Mike is like he facilitates offense. In other words, good passer, good guy to run things through. That, I mean, it's a 6'9" guard.
Yeah.
You know, but the assist numbers are decent. I mean, 3.4 assists per game for Utah last year. Actually, I'm sorry, 2.8 assists per game. Not bad. Not bad. Doesn't turn it over a whole lot. You know, I is this a game changer? No, but you know, I don't know that a lot of people thought Talon Cooper and BJ Mack were going to be game changers when Carolina got them. So nobody knew how good Colin Murray Boyles was going to be. I don't think the season's doomed. And I'm saying that being honest and saying that the Eagle staff news was not great, you know, for the team. But there's more people that'll get in the portal. And, or I'm sorry, there's more people that they will get from the portal to continue to build it out. And Mongolian Mike is just another piece. And the key thing with all of these guys that they've signed is this: their system fits. They play basketball like Lamont Paris wants them to play basketball.
Yeah. And that was not to interrupt you there, but that was kind of what Mike was saying, right? Because the comps that he's gotten on Mongolian Mike are he's not gonna wow you with his stats, but he is like elite like Talon Cooper in the facilitating and running an offense and understanding scheme and things like that. So certain things that don't jump off the page, that basketball IQ, if you will, right? That basketball character that Coach Paris talks about. This guy appears to be, at least in Mike's circles, from the ones that know him, is a good fit there. Which is what you need to win right now, right? I mean,
yeah,
you saw, you know, a more talented team not necessarily get their heads around that whole concept, right? That Coach Paris was wanting to do, and it did not work as well as it could have. But when you bring in guys that don't necessarily wow you with their metrics, but who have a high basketball character, I mean, we've seen that work before. And if Talon Cooper is the guy that they're dropping to compare you to, then around here, that's going to go a long way.
Yeah. I mean, it's a 6'9" guard. I mean, from Mongolia.
A little bigger than
very
Talon.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, and you look at it, you know, and you have Michi Johnson who knows what to do and how to make it work. You know, Eli Ellis is a fun player, you know. I think he can come in and be really good. I mean, we want to talk about fearless. I was mentioning that with Cutter Woods. Eli Ellis is fearless. He's not gonna
No.
I mean, he may fail. He may not be that good in college, but he ain't gonna like back down. I mean, that's not him. I mean, that
he ain't
guy's
scared.
He's not scared.
He ain't scared.
Give him a cheer. I'm not scared. So I think that's a positive thing. Michi coming back is big. I still like Kobe Knox. I just think the potential that the chances that he's not a player that can help you and does the right thing are low.
Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm.
Inside, Elijah Strong to me probably wouldn't be a starter. I do like Asandiko from Providence, the center they got. Why? He can pass and he can shoot outside for a big guy. And he's 7 feet tall. And, and big. He's a giant. And he doesn't have any problems rebounding. I mean, he's not a finesse guy. He doesn't have any problems, Phil, rebounding and playing inside.
Mm-hmm.
He just isn't. He just needs to get in better shape.
Yeah, it's
plays 20-something minutes a game.
Need to, convert a couple of those pounds to muscle, I guess. I don't know, but that's going to be top priority for them in the offseason is to get him physically where he needs to be able to get the minutes up. Yeah,
get in shape and all that. So I don't know who else they're going to go after. I do think they'll find a guard or a point guard somewhere, probably another big, because they do have spots remaining. But it's coming together. And then don't forget, you got E.J. Walker, Hayden Simeon, Grant Polk all coming in. All those guys who knows what they can give you. We don't talk about freshmen anymore. It's all portal, I guess. But
I know
freshmen can come in basketball and do some nice things. So we'll see sort of what happens with them. I've not I thought Mongolian Mike was an encouraging pickup with the caveat that they're going to have to do some more work to get it right. But I'll also say this. I think after they kind of got burned last year with the style of players they had, or the players that, came back that kind of, I don't want to say revolted against the system, but, kind of got away from what made them good,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that, what they're doing is they're not getting desperate and just going and throwing, just going and getting whoever. Right. Every one of these guys they've gotten is a guy that checks the boxes when you think about what does Lamont Paris need to make his stuff successful.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you got to have the right guys for what it is that he's trying to do.
Yeah. I mean, because that's how you're going to win. I'm sorry. It's unrealistic to think South Carolina at this stage of their program is going to be able to go line up McDonald's All-Americans and all this stud the overpaid talent in the portal this year. It's unrealistic. It's just not going to happen. And I don't care if you do have the money everybody else has. You're not going to. I mean, it's just that this program has to have sustained success for it to be realistic to start getting the types of guys that you see some other schools in the SEC get. So how do you win? Well, how did they win 26 games 2 years ago, Phil, and compete for the SEC? They're a system team, and they ran their system really, really daggum good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they could shoot. They weren't always hot from outside, but for the most part, they could shoot. You'd be at a point in the game, the other team has momentum, and then Talon Cooper, after like 6 passes, they kick it back around to him, and he drills a three.
He just drains a three, right? Yeah.
It's just a dagger. And so that's the kind of team they're going to need. So, so that's it. Bruin says, I know we don't want to talk politics, thank God, but I got to see this. Please forgive me. JD Vance did not unalive the Pope. Stop it, people. Yeah, that was weird. I was sitting there thinking,
vice president don't know ball. We didn't talk about this, but it spoke a lot to me that J.D. Vance, when given the opportunity to hold the college football playoff national championship trophy, didn't know that you can just take the metal part out of the base. Tried to pick the whole damn thing up and it fell apart. I'm like, come on, man. Listen, you don't need anything else, any more fodder for people to make you seem like you're out of touch with, real American people. But tell me you don't know ball without telling me you don't know ball.
Good Lord.
But no, I don't also think that the vice president had anything to do with the Pope.
My wife mentioned that to me this morning. I thought it was just kind of strange that the Pope went home after Easter.
Yeah.
How about that for you?
The morning after. Yeah,
the morning after Easter. But, I thought that was interesting. I think Pope John Paul may have died New Year's Eve. One of them died New Year's Eve a while back. So that was interesting for sure. But yeah, I'm with you, Bruin. And my wife mentioned that too, and she said, "Well, J.D. Vance just met," and I'm like, "Oh God, here we go, conspiracy theory." So
he gave him COVID. That's it. We'll put it out there.
Oh no. Well, that's a mixed bag of political excrement that we could get into. But so Mongolian Mike's in. I'll tell you this. I had a conversation this weekend. The basketball staff is, sure, they're pissed off they lost Eagle staff. They thought that was not even handled well at all.
Right.
It was just, we're done. Thank you. Bye. Boom. That's it. This came as a surprise to them because, there were no signs before it happened. But, and so that stinks. I don't know that Eagle staff's a player I'm going to be pulling for at West Virginia a whole lot. Though I like West Virginia.
Right.
I'm just not too sure about how it was handled after the conversation I had. Just didn't really like it. And I don't know about his agent or anything like that. If they're one of the ones that's just basically out there, not talking about a time, they don't follow there's a time to negotiate and a time to get to work. No, they're constantly negotiating. And so whatever. But I can say this, though, they don't feel like everything's falling apart. What they feel like they're doing, based on the lessons they learned last season, which is what you always want. You don't want hard-headed people, right? That are just, I don't need anybody to fit this. I can just get you don't want hard-headed people if you have a coach that had a losing season.
No.
You want that coach to be open and to answer the big question, which is why. Why did you go 12-20? Well, here are the reasons, and here's how we're going to fix it. And they're not worried about, they don't think it's doom and gloom. What they believe is they're going and getting players that fit what they could, what made them successful 2 years ago.
Right.
And they admit, just like I said, they got away from it. And those guys just didn't fit. Nick Pringle's a good player. He wouldn't have ended up at Arkansas. John Calipari wouldn't have taken him otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Zach Davis is a good player. Penny Hardaway wouldn't have taken him otherwise. But sometimes when you're talking about a team, and especially a team that loses close games over and over like it's their job, and chokes in big moments like it's their job, it's about a lot more than pure raw talent. Now, should the NIL situation have been up? Yeah. Were they probably a player or two away from winning and going to the tournament? Yeah. Did NIL cost them that? Maybe if you look at it. I don't think it's all NIL last year. I think it's more so guys didn't do what they were supposed to do in the heat of the moment.
Right.
It was the heat of the moment. Dude, that's a good song.
Yeah.
I can't ever get the claps right. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, but I can tell you right now, they recognize that as the problem, and they're in the they're trying to solve it. You look around the SEC, and there's a lot more hype about the good players once they start playing in the SEC than there was going in. So I don't know. There's some very dramatic criticism of Lamont Paris once he lost the Eagles staff, mainly saying his tenure's over or something like that. But just give him a shot. Maybe it's not good. I mean, I'm not going to, put my signature on anything concerning this basketball team. But I do know this. There is a concerted effort over there to make sure everybody they bring in and sign fits what Paris wants to do. And Mongolian Mike is definitely that kind of guy. It's a little weird, I'll be honest. First of all, Mongolia is not necessarily a place that I think of when I think of high-level basketball.
No, it's not.
Just to be honest. So, but you still kept the international flavor on the team because Asandiko is from France.
Yeah.
And this guy's from Mongolia. So the Finns may have departed, but
trade two Finns for somebody from France and a Mongolian. What's next?
So that's that there.
That's what we need. We need an Eastern Bloc guy now, just to kind of round it out. We need to find
I would
another
love
Latvian,
Serbian,
Lithuanian, Serbian somewhere.
Croatians.
Yeah.
They're all good at basketball.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Freaking ballers. Dude, Mike Kotsar, I don't know if you ever seen any of his professional basketball clips from over there. God, that guy's amazing. He's like really, really good. I mean, he's like freaking awesome. And Mike, to his credit, had a really good career. I mean, I will never, ever forget they're playing Florida in the NCAA tournament, and everybody's had a pretty good tournament except Kotsar. He's missed some free throws again. He's been kind of I remember C.D. Kita. Remember that guy for 1 year?
Yeah.
He left. He was seeing some minutes, and Kotsar just, he's getting rebounds and doing good, but it just wasn't, hadn't made a whole lot happen. And then against Florida, man, a critical moment, right? Critical moment. Pulls up about an 8-foot jumper right inside the free throw line. Boom, swish.
Yep.
And again, that game against Florida, that shot really helped them in that game. And of course, they went on to beat the Gators 77-70 and get to the Final Four. And now it's been 8 years. I can't believe that.
I know.
8 years, one tournament. Whew. Anyway, but Kotsar is awesome. So this, you still have the international flavor on the team, and I think that's a good thing. I just want to say that it's, the feeling over there is that, they're kind of being resilient with it, and that's their focus, and they feel like as long as they do that they can get back in the mix. And here's the other thing, folks. I am almost positive the SEC will not be as good next year as it is this year. I don't see 14 teams going to the tournament next year. 14
safe to say. Yeah.
I think this was a perfect storm with a lot of success by the conference overall and the non-conference. Just about everybody, including Carolina, had pretty nice non-conference wins. Gamecocks beat Clemson, 6th seed in the tournament. I mean, that's a pretty good win. Everybody else kind of went undefeated. Oklahoma was undefeated in the non-conference, and just a crazy 6 season. That's probably not going to be the case next year. Players are coming and going and all that, but it will be a talented league. South Carolina realistically cannot match talent for talent. They got to out basketball people, and that's what they're setting up for. But this whole notion, I think a lot of times people now, every player Carolina gets, I read something. It's like, he can't match up in the SEC, and SEC this, and SEC that. Well, the SEC is going to look a lot different next year. Right. I mean, think about this year, Phil. You not only had a bunch of transfer portal talent, in coming to the league. You also had some very good freshmen that came into the league. And you also had older guys that had COVID years.
Right.
Still had COVID. They were kind of still living off of that as an extra year. She had old guys. And then some schools just stepped up in NIL to both retain and acquire. And we got what we got. On top of that, there's really good coaches in this league. You know, Kermit Davis, who was at Ole Miss before Chris Beard, is a really good basketball coach. Really good basketball coach. If you look at what he did at Middle Tennessee, that program probably won't have that kind of success again, at least for a while. He takes the Ole Miss job, takes them to the tournament the first year, could never get it going. Well, now you don't have Kermit Davis. You upgraded. You have Chris Beard, who's probably a top 10 coach in the country. Took him to the Sweet 16, right? You know, Buzz Williams leaves, and I think Buzz is a fantastic coach. But then they go hire Bucky McMillan from Sanford, which is a guy I kind of liked. You know, full court press. It's a really fun style of basketball. So we'll see what that style does. You know, Texas just goes and plucks Sean Miller back from Xavier.
Yeah, like, oh, we'll take that.
I mean, they probably, I wouldn't count Rodney Terry up there as the best coaches in the league. You still, Rick Barnes didn't retire. Cal's still at Kentucky, Arkansas. I think Mark Pope is an excellent coach for Kentucky and just what they needed. Vanderbilt hired a really good coach in Bynington. I mean, you have so many freaking, that's not to mention Nate Oates, Bruce Pearl.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know, Matt McMahon was considered, you know, a big hire for LSU out of Murray State. He's had one NIT and 2 losing seasons at LSU. I mean, it was last year was a perfect storm, and they're really good coaches in the league still, and they're really good players. But it's not going to be like this past year where it's like you're playing a top 20 team every night. I mean, it's just
every game is a quad 1 game, right?
Yeah, there are too many players that are outgoing. There's too many teams that I think probably won't nail the portal this time around.
Mm-hmm.
They'll get good players, maybe not great ones. And, you know, so we'll see what happens. I just find it hard. I will find it hard to believe that would be as good next year. And you can take solace in that because, I mean, I think a lot of people thought that Lamont Paris had to go recruit the dream team from 1990 from the Olympics.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we're to take that it was a generational league last year with all the talent and you know, then it can't happen this year. Because that's not how generational works.
Definition of generational, right?
Yeah, it's like, all right, so there's got to be some regression. And there's always going to be that regression to the mean, even if for like Carolina, the statistics work the same. Like, it's not going to be as bad as it was this year in the SEC, just statistically. They're going to be, you know, the odds are that you're going to get more wins. So time to put that together and you know, let's get back into the postseason conversation after a 1-year drought.
Yeah, no doubt. From the Nana Sports chat box, Matt asked, do we lose Eagle staff for money or the program or Lamont? 2 of money and program would probably be it. I'm convinced he got a little I'm convinced he kept the channels of communication open the whole time.
Right.
West Virginia tends to have the ability to like overpay in certain situations in basketball. So I can't say money wasn't involved, but Carolina there was no countering. I mean, there's no negotiation. They just said, we're out. So I think that's that, you know, and John Kruger, John Edward, believe what you want to believe, brother.
Yeah.
But when you can't counter anything, you know, I don't know how that's some big, like, got beat out because of money. I mean, that's a stupid narrative around here, is that it's all about money. Well, Carolina's got money too, especially this year. It's not just money. I mean,
and I don't know about the Cooper Flag come in either. I mean,
and when people continuously say that about money, what it does is it reinforces the notion and really hurts the efforts of everyone around here to get NIL funds in and to work on NIL, because everybody feels like they're fighting a losing cause because they see all these players. Sometimes, guess what? Doesn't want to be at the University of South Carolina, would rather be someplace else. Now, I can't imagine going to Morgantown over Columbia myself, but lots of people can, and the kid's from North Dakota.
He's not a fan of sofas.
And basketball, it's not like men's basketball has been this powerhouse either. I mean, there's a lot you have to fight to recruit here in that sport. And other sports have done it, but it's just, like Bo Atkinson today. I said that Bo Atkinson got in the portal with a do not contact on. Carolina did have him do a Zoom call with the staff, right? Just to see.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State and Georgia have been right there the whole time, and that's where he's visiting. And that's probably where he's going. Probably going to Ohio State. Georgia tried everything they could to get him committed while he's there, and he didn't. I think he's going to Ohio State. More power to him. I mean, that wasn't necessarily just we don't have the money. I mean, it's not always about that. I mean, Juice Wells walked out.
Sometimes you find a way, right?
I mean, Juice Wells walked out allegedly for more money, but it was really a couple of grand more a month if you really do the math. And probably had he taken the contract that was offered him to stay, he would have made more money. He just wouldn't have come to him until November, right?
Right.
They wanted to backload it because of the situation at the end of 2023, which wouldn't, well, So I just, I just don't, I don't get it sometimes, because if we keep repeating that and it's just not true, I mean, it's sort of insulting to the people that actually know about it and work hard to make sure there are funds in place.
Right.
And it's completely unfair. Are you gonna now there's it's a different story when you say, I'm not going to overpay for the guy. That's a football decision or a basketball decision. It's a sport decision. Mm-hmm. And the coach is going to sit there and make the valuation and say no, so you're also, you're obviously going to evaluate the player, and you're like, this for this, no, I'm not doing it. Shane Beamer does that. And I love that because it protects your culture. It protects your roster balance. It shows faith in the guys you have. And it also shows you're evaluating more than statistics and hype and all that good stuff. You're actually digging into who these guys are, what they've actually done, that type of thing. And that's good. Like the kid, from Penn State, he had not caught more than 4 passes in one game and wanted a lot of money. And how about no? And you have, Beamer says the other day, we have more talent in the wide receiver room than any other time since I've been here. Yeah. And I started thinking about that, Phil, and I said that on coffee today because the 2022 receiver room was pretty doggone good with the notorious Juice Wells.
Right.
And Jalen Brooks and Josh Vann really got it going there toward the end. And then Xavier Legette, what didn't even really come on the radar till the end, with the 7 catches against Notre Dame. He had good tight ends too. Nate Atkins, Trey Kenyon had some good passes that year. Remember him? Along with Jaheim Bell, who all of a sudden was a running back. That was weird. That was a weird but fulfilling season, 2020.
It was
because it's just like, you're sitting there 6-4 and Tennessee and Clemson, 2 top 10 teams. You're staring 6-6 in the face, and it's like, man, so 6 back-to-back 6-6s. This team's better than that.
Coming off a really disappointing, what was it, the Missouri game before Tennessee, or
Florida.
Yeah.
Florida.
Jeez.
Missouri was disappointing.
Yeah.
But Florida was god awful.
It was just
That was the
nightmarishly
last
bad.
straw.
Yeah.
I mean, that defense at Florida that year wasn't worth 2 nickels. I mean, it was
Should have
terrible.
been able to put up 50 points.
Everybody went
half
up and down the
100
field on them except the Gamecocks. And for some reason, the mad scientist of that game wanted to run 48 different formations and kept subbing and slowing the game down.
Oh my God!
And
no flow.
The crowd at the Swamp kept getting louder and louder and louder. And you knew the one thing Carolina's defense wasn't all that good at that year was stopping the run. You know,
Right. Yeah.
teams are line up and running. Florida had really good backs, and so they were running it all over Carolina. So instead of trying to score points, they're doing all this slow down stuff and running it right up the middle into the teeth of that 421-pound D tackle they had.
God, yeah.
I mean, run it right at the guy.
Right
I mean,
at his,
right at him. That was a terrible game, but it caused some changes to be made, and for Gamecocks to score 63 and beat Tennessee the next week.
Yeah, right.
That was crazy. That was one game none of us saw coming. Remember our predictions for that game, Phil?
Oh yes, we were not expecting anything close to what happened.
I said 52-13 and thought I was being nice.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway,
Pretty sure I had at least a 21-point deficit in there. That way I was like, I don't know. I think they keep it close for a half and pull away late.
Yeah, the point for all this was, that like I thought the 2022 the 2022 receiving core was pretty good. So if this room has more talent, then that's a good thing. All right, I know we got to get our final break in here for the final segment. Matt went to the game in the Swamp. I'm so sorry, dude.
Oh yeah.
Although I sat through the 56-6 loss down there in 2008 in the rain. That was sad.
Yeah.
That day, the end of that season, that's the only time I really sat there and thought, I was like, well, Steve Spurrier ever turned this thing around? What are we doing here?
What are we?
But
2 years later, you're playing in Atlanta. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. So, and I went to the Swamp for that one too.
Yep.
That was fun. But that 38-6 game, that was ugly down there. So I don't know what to make of the losses to Florida and Napier, because that next one the next year was just gut wrenching.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. All right, I want to remind everybody about the Barndo Co., the Barndominian Company. Check it out. One of our title sponsors here, also Resto Pros of the Midlands. We love them. Gamecock Traditions. Go follow them on social media. Also, Garnet Trust. You can get your Lenora Sellers signed designer sunglasses now and support the NIL efforts at the University of South Carolina. They're a little pricey, but man, we've been selling them. Selling a pretty good bit of them. First 300 people to buy get them signed. I bought mine. They will not be coming out of the box because I lose sunglasses.
Oh yeah, so I would never buy.
I'm just going to leave them there as a collector's item. And so that'll be that there. But be sure to check all of that out. We love all of our affiliates. We love the Garnet Trust. We love our partners and sponsors here on Inside the Gamecocks The Show. Phil and I will be back to wrap things up. Final segment after this on a Monday.
It's gone! That ball is going to be out of here! Fair ball in the corner!
The atmosphere in Founders Park is electric. There's nothing like being loud and proud for our Gamecocks. Gamecock Traditions proudly supports Carolina baseball and wants you to look your best while you're at the ballpark. Come see us and choose from the best selection of game hats, hoodies, shirts, and all that entails the baseball logo. From tailgate gear to jewelry and plenty for your kids, Gamecock Traditions is your Gamecock baseball locker room. Don't forget, we have the widest selection for all sports and USC apparel. Come see us in Lexington or in the village at Sand Hill, or order online and have it shipped to your doorstep at GamecockTraditions.com. Go Gamecocks!
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
Nana's Porch presents a Southern staple delivered right to your doorstep. Nana's Porch locally crafted pimento cheese has been a hit for years at weddings, tailgates, and other events. Now you can order online and have it sent to your home. Visit nanasporch.com. That's nanasporch.com and click the pimento cheese tab to choose between their original pimento cheese and their jalapeno smoked pimento cheese set. nanasporch.com, man, that's good.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
We are back. Welcome back, everybody, inside the Gamecocks The Show. Final segment of the show here on Monday. What you got, JC?
I'm looking at the 24/7 Sports college football transfer portal best available, and I just don't know that I agree with some of this. I agree with some, but not all. So Murad Watson, D tackle from Syracuse, is the number one guy. Love that guy. He's a New Jersey kid. I don't know that Carolina's going to be able to get in on him or if they're even interested, but I can see that. Number two is this Micah Hudson kid, right? So this guy, Phil, he caught 8 passes for 123 yards last year at Texas Tech. 8. Right. And instead of staying, he can't get, and then there's these rumors, and I haven't verified any of it. But I would be surprised if Mike Elko, who was whining and complaining about NIL and the portal and free agency and all this, would agree to this. But it was like private driver, back and forth to practice. His demands are he decides when he's injured and can't play, and he decides when he practices and when he doesn't, plus a chunk load of cash and all this other stuff, right? I mean, it was almost too much. You know, I thought it was a little satirical. But obviously he wanted to go get paid, and obviously A&M did it. And lo and behold, he gets to A&M, and now he's already gone. Couldn't cut it. Number 2 available player in the portal. Under what circumstances? Like, okay, if you're a program like Georgia and the kid wants to come for decent NIL money and not the money they're going to ultimately ask for, that's fine. But there's nowhere good is going to take him. You know, like nowhere good in terms of can he come play there for you right now. They're going to go if you need a receiver, they're going to go scour the earth for someone else before this type of person. You know, just the constant moving around, the this, the that, the other. And he can't go to Georgia anyway because he's an SEC transfer now, so you can't go anywhere in the SEC. I mean, it's just a disaster, and I don't think this guy would be number 2. Number 3, Trevor Pena from Syracuse. I love Fran Brown, the Syracuse coach.
Mm-hmm.
He tells it like it is. He's like, man, I ain't gonna pay no receiver $2 million. He's like, if I pay you that much money, you better be Jeremiah Smith.
Yep.
I ain't paying no $2 million for a receiver. Are you kidding? Just shot it down and said what we're all thinking. I don't know who's going to pay him $2 million. Maybe Miami. I wouldn't pay him $2 million. He's not that good.
No.
I mean, $2 million's ridiculous for that kid. Good player. Don't get me wrong. Is he a $2 million receiver? Hell no. But and I don't think he's better than Bo Atkinson. I don't think any of these guys are better than Bo Atkinson. And I say that saying Bo Atkinson's not coming to South Carolina. I mean, I think this guy, if it is Ohio State, I think he'll be a star at Ohio State, but he's fourth. Fifth is Hakeem Williams, who's done Hakeem nothing at Florida State. Very highly rated guy, though. 6, can I have a drum roll? Jaden Rashada.
Who?
Now, so this guy, obviously, and my question,
I forgot he was at Georgia.
They couldn't cut it there.
No,
probably couldn't. Just couldn't handle that.
I forgot he was at Georgia.
So he's been in the portal since the first portal window. No takers. Now, my question is this: are they dumb enough to be holding out for money? Like, could he have gone somewhere for a reasonable amount of money and they had him on the team and could he have done that? Or are they just done with this guy? Because he's already, I mean, it's probably not Jaden himself. But check out the pattern. All right, so you're down, you get caught up in the Florida-Miami recruiting wars. That's your first mistake. People don't understand those two schools historically were bigger rivals than FSU and Florida.
Yeah,
FSU.
right.
All three of them kind of have a circular firing squad going on, but they all hate each other. But Florida and Miami, like the way they recruit against each other is dirt. I mean, it gets intense. So you got caught up in that recruiting war and you got promised $13 million knowing you're not that good. I mean, maybe you don't. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so then you decide to sue them. That's not a good look.
No.
So then, okay, well, we can go and we'll go to Arizona State. You know, ASU needed players at the time. They weren't very good. He gets the start, plays pretty well, promising career, right? You know, we'll be better next year. Kenny Dillingham's a good coach, you know.
Right,
ASU's a good fit. We're gone, brother.
Nope.
We're gonna go to Georgia and sit. All right, well,
sure.
How'd that work out for you? You know, so the minute he has playing time, Arizona State made all the sense in the world. He's out. Going to Georgia. This place Arizona State's just a little bit too beneath me, Phil.
That's right. I'm a little better than this program.
I'm just a little too good for the Sun Devils.
Little too much, yeah.
Well, the Sun Devils upgraded by getting Sam Levitt and now have a top 10 quarterback in college football, which Rashada probably wouldn't have been. They won the Big 12. Rashada probably wouldn't have led him to the Big 12 title. They went to the playoff and took Texas to the wire. Rashada probably wouldn't have done that. So away they go, forks up. This guy's on the bench at Georgia. They never even talked about him replacing Carson Beck when he got hurt. Right. It wasn't even a possibility.
Yeah.
He would have gone into spring like fourth team. He's like, I'm leaving. Good. See you. Hey, we enjoyed having you, Jaden. We mean that.
That's right. We mean that.
Seriously.
Yeah. Listen, all the best.
All the best to you and your family. Good luck with that lawsuit.
Good luck. Yeah, that's right. Hope things work out for you with Florida.
And now, like I read, he's still not committed anywhere, which I believe. You know what's going to be hilarious? If this kid's advisors, who I think are very poor, if this kid's advisors sit there and are holding out because they want all these millions like Nico and those guys, when this guy's done less than Nico, man. If you ask me who I would pay before Rashad, I'd definitely pay Nico. Definitely paying Nico over Rashada. In fact, I really have to question the judgment of Florida and Miami both if they were willing to pay this kid that much money. $13 million. That's ridiculous. Who comes up with this? What are you doing? What are you doing? I have no idea. So if they're holding out for more money and he ends up with no place to play, hey, that's exactly that's going to serve as another example
Mm-hmm.
of what not to do. I don't know the kid, so I'm going to err on the side of feeling bad for him because of his advisors. But I'm also going to say it's a cautionary tale. If they're holding out for money right now instead of going to, gosh, who did I see that was in the mix? UConn,
First,
UConn, Western Kentucky.
Jeez,
those were the schools. UMass. If you missed the boat at UConn, dude,
I mean, yeah, can't even go independent.
I know, dude. Man, I'm just like Oregon State. Oregon State, Washington State. They're always in need of players because their players keep leaving. I would have thought that would have been a fit, but heck, Oregon State got Malik Murphy from Duke, a well-traveled player by now.
Yeah,
too.
exactly. Yeah, he's been around.
He's pretty good, so they don't really need him. But yeah, I mean, I think look, here's the bottom line, and what would be scary for me if I'm Rashada and his people is guess what? I've been focused on this, right, Phil?
Mm-hmm.
There's a time to do what?
That's right.
Negotiate.
Time to negotiate,
and time to get to work. He's never gotten to work.
He's never gotten to work. He can't stop negotiating.
Constant negotiation.
Yeah.
And this guy's in his third year now, which is when quarterbacks that are worth $13 million out of high school will be thinking about the NFL.
Right.
How high is he going to get drafted next season? How many yards is he thrown for? All that. Instead, we're talking about UConn and Western Kentucky maybe taking him to be on the team.
I know.
So,
yeah.
Tri-State chimes in. What's up, guys? Do you have any information on Vandrevius Jacobs? Got dinged up in the spring game after the long game. Beamer said you came out clean. Guess it's nothing to worry about. Seems like he can be an integral part of the passing game this season. Yeah, I mean, as far as where he fits, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell that off of a spring game performance. I just know that he's gotten better individually based on what I've heard out of practice of the scrimmages. And then obviously he's playing a lot faster as we saw in the spring game. So that's all I know. I mean, they're all going to have to compete. I mean, you don't play. I mean, this isn't a 5-wide spread them out attack. They play 3 at a time, sometimes 2, sometimes 4, but it's just it's one of those things. But so I don't really know. Jay Frew chimes in. Clowns are people too. I got a text from a buddy this morning right after the opening of the show. Said clowns are people too was in his head while he was doing housework all weekend.
That's it. At least once a day, it pops into mind. Yep.
What did Bobby Bobby called it an earworm?
The earworm. It's one earworm. Yes.
My wife said the same thing. She was actually violently upset with me because I was singing that song in the shower the other day. And she doesn't like clowns, which is part of the reason I wrote it. But she doesn't like clowns, and so she was like mad because that song was in her head. She had a headache too, but clowns are people anyway. All right, Phil, let's get out of here a little early. My lunch is here.
A little early, I'm good with that. Yeah,
shut it down.
Yeah,
I've said all I can say about the spring football game and the transfer portal and all that. We'll get into some more topics tomorrow. Didn't mention baseball. Nice series win, but we're going to talk about that a little tomorrow because guess what? North Florida is coming to town.
Yeah, here we go. Not another.
Never
North
schedule
Florida
the Ospreys. Just don't schedule them anymore. The Ospreys. That's where all this started. Basketball opening game, North Florida. Oh, good. Good outside shooting team, and then they go beat Georgia Tech, and everybody's like, "Oh, well, they may be pretty good," and then they just start losing, and they're very average. Just like, I don't know.
Who knows?
Jay Frew says it's a fun, happening song. It is. Clowns.
Oh, yeah.
Too. John Edwards said Kingston scheduled North Florida. Yeah. A bunch of games with him. But he didn't schedule them in basketball, did he?
That wasn't his doing.
No. He can't hurt you anymore.
That's right.
Heck, I can't sit here and say Mark Kingston didn't do a better job the last 2 years than the current guy. I'm sorry. I just
at least
it's
from
just
a
it's
pitching
obvious.
standpoint, it's not held up its end of the deal.
So except for the I'm convinced Mike Morgan and Ray Tanner calling the first two games of that series brought some magic back for a moment.
Put some mojo on the team, man. I feel the same.
I'm convinced there's a little magic there. And then, man, Saturday I'm on the phone with my buddy, and the game had started, and it's right when we were about to get off. And by the time I got off, it was 6-0.
I know.
I didn't even turn it on.
No, I was in a similar situation. I was like, oh, I've missed the start of the game. I had it planned. I was doing some yard work outside, fired up the headphones, and I'm like, nope. I'll catch the highlights.
And yeah, just to wrap it up, John Edward, I don't really care where he's won big at other places in his career. And frankly, there's a certain segment of this fan base that needs to get over what people have done someplace else. Who cares?
Yeah, what are you doing for me?
I mean,
now?
Everybody was mad at Beamer when he was hired because he'd never been a coordinator. Look up the road. Look up the road if you want to see, three national championships, both won by guys who had never been coordinators. Internal promotions. This whole notion that somebody has to do something someplace else before they come to South Carolina and be successful is wrong. And so I'm looking at it from the standpoint of right now and this year.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying you weren't behind Beamer, John Edward. I'm just saying that the general notion of what someone's done someplace else here, it's so much better when you have your own thing, right?
Yes.
Than when, your best coach you've ever had in football, his name's on another SEC stadium. So that's tough.
Yeah, it is.
That's tough. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I love Steve Spurrier, and happy birthday to him yesterday, by the way.
That's right.
But it's just one of those things. So, Jay Frew adds the highlights. Bo Hollins, 2-run shot. We got great corner pieces. For right now, there's a transfer portal in baseball too, man. But I don't think Bo Hollins going anywhere. I'm really happy to see him come on, and we've loved KJ Scobie from the beginning. But we'll get into all that baseball tomorrow.
Yeah,
tomorrow's Tuesday, the worst day of the week except tacos. So we'll talk a little about that. Have some more Gamecock stuff, off-topic stuff to break down. Any kind of breaking news, all that. We'll be back with coffee in the morning. Phil, get us out of here.
Yeah, hopefully tomorrow when JC and I are back, we'll be talking about a softball sweep. Kentucky, first pitch tonight, 7 o'clock. JB will be back in the morning for the morning show at 10 with Mike Morgan, more than likely. No other guests lined up as of right now, but I'm sure it's the cast of thousands down there. We'll have a good old time. Oh, John Strickland, shit. It's Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll get
forget
Strick
him
talk
too,
on the
dude.
spring game. I do every Tuesday because it's usually Monday, Wednesday, Friday through the football season. So that's that's our fault. But no, listen, for JC, Phil, this is Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Everybody enjoy the rest of your afternoon and go Cox.